The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Wednesday, or should I say Friday, for our guy Elliot over here. Elliot, I thought you'd come in a little bit more glowing on a Friday here. Wake up.
I am. I'm up. I'm awake. I'm happy.
Be happy.
I'm happy.
It's your Friday.
This is.
We have to tough out 2 more days this week. It's your Friday.
It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. My mood is happy. I was at a fun concert last night.
What concert you go to?
AJR.
Nice.
Very fun time. I had a lot of fun. Many smiles were had.
It is your Friday, so you should go out with a bang.
Across the room, high five. I like
Thirsty
it.
Thursday coming
I like it.
Bad song. They don't play that song, though, so don't worry about it. Yeah, it was a good time. Heritage Bank, I'll give them a lot of credit. We were in and out of that place pretty quick. Usually it's a misery to deal with, but last night was fine.
I saw you went with an old friend who's a big fan of Heritage Bank.
Yes, I did. Paul was there. So I bought these tickets separately from Paul Fritchner. And I was talking to Paul. Paul's like, oh, well, I'm going to go too. So we're like, all right, so let's think about this. Where are you sitting? And then he told me, and then we aligned. And then coincidentally, both like that whole row was available on Ticketmaster at the same time. So we're like, okay, let's just change our tickets and go sit over there. So shout out to Paul.
Very nice.
Very fun.
Well, very cool. Well, happy Friday to you. Happy Wednesday to everybody else. We still have Reed. Reed, welcome in. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing fine.
You're being stretched a lot right now. I mean, what, you calling Little League games yesterday, correct? Am I wrong?
Stretched? Brother, I'm Laffy Taffy at this point. I've been bent and contorted in 12 different ways, but I'm here. I'm ready to rock. Let's rock and roll, baby. Let's go. Keep it jolted. Let's go.
That was a quick Laffy Taffy rebound. I like that. Jimmy, how are you? I have to admit, I watched the clip yesterday of Elliot pouncing all over him, and your line are just, I laugh every damn time. I mean, I watched it probably a good 100 times yesterday.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm doing well this morning. I watched it back when I got home yesterday. That was rough. But, and then.
Did your dad have a comment?
No. I don't think my dad saw it. He was traveling yesterday.
That's good.
I'll send it to him.
Okay, good. That's important.
I don't really want to have my dad hear that conversation, especially after what was said after the clip ended.
Yeah.
I think it's probably fine if he doesn't hear it.
I think that Jacob has an opportunity to really blackmail James Collins into some hush money.
After you said my dad was very, very wealthy. Mm-hmm. And yeah. So then the chat got all fired.
And then Kinner started making comments about your mother.
Yeah.
No.
That was off air.
That was off air.
Jimmy's mom is a very nice lady.
It's amazing how what happens off air here somehow finds its way on air more often than not.
Yeah, Jacob usually does that, but I guess I did it today.
Yeah. In fact, Ellie, I think it's time for your suspension.
I'll be gone after today. Don't worry about it.
Jacob, people are commenting about your Ohio State polo.
That's right. Mark was getting on me a little bit about wearing Alabama polos the last couple of days, so I switched it up for him. Wore some Buckeye gear today.
Well, I'm all about being serious, and it is time that we approach this more business-like. So I decided to go the Joe Burrow route. I got the buzz cut. I couldn't go the full Joe Burrow route.
I love it.
I couldn't bleach it. So taking the hat off, it's all
looks
buzz
like
cuts,
it looks from the camera. It looks like one of Reed's lawns, just perfectly mowed on the sides there. It looks very good.
Well, one reason I did it, kept having this little piece in the what? What happened?
No, it was just the lines are very crisp.
Yeah, my barber did a very good job.
Is this the barber?
Shout out to
the
Trevion.
same barber?
Trevion killed it. I
love
appreciate
that.
it. But
love sticking with the guy.
I mean, you have loyalty, dude.
You do have to.
Loyalty. It's all about
thick
that.
and thin.
But, hey, so 2 days in a row or 2 nights in a row, the Reds didn't lose, so that's a good thing.
That's always a positive.
Mm-hmm. The Reds did not lose last night, but they did not play last night, so there you go. But they'll have
a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got it.
I had to explain it. There you go. But 2 games today. And I want to see how you're going to spin this. Are the Reds taking both today? Are they going to get?
Well,
They're going
Elliot
to
has a
sweep the
stat for
Braves.
you.
Are
I
the
have a
Reds
stat.
back? Oh, he did find it.
There's a stat.
I'm very impressed.
MLB teams are 55% more likely to win both games of a doubleheader than lose both games of a doubleheader. Or to split, excuse me. So it's 55% more likely for the Reds to win both games today than split it.
Or
What is that?
for the
Does
Braves?
that matter?
How does that-
55% more likely?
No, I think I may have misread the stat.
It's 55% more likely to complete a sweep with a doubleheader.
Yes.
That's the stat he found.
Then
So
to
then the
get
Braves.
swept.
Winning game 1, it's 55% more likely to complete the sweep when game 2 and 3 are a doubleheader.
So
okay.
the Braves.
That's the stat.
Right?
That's like
Or-
a
no, the Reds
multi-leg
won.
parlay.
If the Reds would have played yesterday
Okay.
and today, 2 separate
Gotcha,
games,
gotcha.
it's 55% less likely. No, 45% less likely that they would have swept then than today.
So because they won game 1, that means they're winning both today. Because
Correct.
It's a doubleheader.
I like when we do math on this show. We've got statistics in the first hour, algebra 3 in the second hour. Stay tuned for more on Off the Bench.
I mean, you like all the numbers, the advanced analytics.
That's right.
And also
That's right. This is a little too advanced for me, it seems.
But
Yeah,
no, so the Reds get the off day yesterday. They get 2 of them today, obviously, and no negativity coming in. But they do have 2 with the Braves, obviously taking advantage of the Braves in game 1 with them having a lot of injuries, them having a lot of guys out of the lineup. Cincinnati Reds, we don't feel sorry whatsoever for a team that is banged up by injuries. That is something that the Reds have been battling all season long. I mean, they haven't sniffed, 500 since early May at this point, and trying to turn it around, of course, after getting swept coming right out of the All-Star break. So obviously every game's important at this point, but we are less than a week. We're less than a week away from the trade deadline. In fact, we were a week away from it yesterday. So I don't know how much impact these remaining games between now and next Tuesday are going to have on what decision that they make. But you can't deny the fact that, again, every game from here on out is almost like an audition for the front office as far as, okay, we're going to put our entire season, the direction of our entire season over the next 4 days worth of games. I think these 2 games are very important for that perspective right there.
And that's why I think we see Dick Martinez starting the game here. Because
Yep.
whether you're going to trade him or not, if Montas gets moved, he's going to likely slide into the rotation, Martinez. And if you want to trade Martinez, you drive up his value quite a bit by proving he can start. So I think it's especially an audition for him today in that second game.
I don't know if you guys saw ESPN's Jeff Passan. Basically did a write-up on all teams heading into the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday. And we've pretty much all agreed that we're pretty sure the Reds are going to be selling at the deadline. However, I was kind of a little shocked to see, and we talked about the fact that the Reds front office reports had started coming out that they were kind of walking back some of their comments about basically moving on from some pieces or offloading some contracts that are going to be coming off the books at the end of the year. ESPN's Jeff Passan labels the Reds as subtracting but not completely. I don't know what the hell that means. That's like on Facebook when the relationship status says it's complicated. I still don't even know what that means. You're in a relationship, but you're not. The Reds are subtracting, but they're not completely. I'm not really sure what that means. But the write-up on the Cincinnati Reds, according to ESPN's Jeff Passan, subtracting but not completely, talks, of course, about how devastating it was to get swept coming right out of the All-Star break and how that could impact them. But it also talks about the fact that there are some names that they're looking to move on from. Lucas Sims is a name that we have not talked about on this show, as them moving on from. His name's being brought up, as well as Buck Farmer, Frankie Montas, obviously a name, Justin Wilson are some names to keep an eye on as far as that's concerned. But there is some serious momentum towards the return of TJ Friedl and Matt McClain. Heard from Matt McClain yesterday, and it sounds like he is pushing to make a return at some point this season. So if that is the case, if you do know you have those 2 guys coming back at some point, I do think it's that tug of war and that internal mentality of what the hell do we do? But again, I don't know what the heavy return is for a Frankie Montas, a Lucas Sims, a Buck Farmer, Justin Wilson type of move. I don't know what you're going to get back in the move for any of this to mean anything. So we'll see what ends up happening, as we've talked about all week.
Did you see the Braves had a team meeting yesterday?
Copycat.
They had a team meeting to copy what the Reds did. They can't out-inspire Luke Maile. They can't do that. I thought that was absurd. But I guess, listen, if they want to try and copy us, they can. You can do that, but it's not going to work. We have 2 team leaders on our team. I can't even imagine if they even have one yet. I mean, Marcell Ozuna plays for them, so not a lot of leadership going on over there. I think, listen, if the Reds win both today and they're somehow able to get hot and you beat the Rays, maybe it changes the plan a little bit. But I think barring a complete 7-game win streak or 6-game win streak, I don't think the Reds' plan is going to change up until the deadline. And even if it were to change, I don't think it would change to a point where, we're all in, using the quote, all in. It would never get to that point. It's most likely going to be what you just said, and that's going to be trading, giving away expiring contracts to some other team.
Reds also, according to ESPN's Jeff Passan, kicking the tires on some big-name outfielders, too. Didn't drop names, but they are potentially looking to add an outfielder, a power bat, as far as that's concerned. So that is another thing to keep an eye on. Look, not every move is also made for this back half of the season. I mean, I remember years ago when they added Trevor Bauer, that wasn't necessarily a move that was made for them to make a run in the back half. I mean, if they made a move for Trevor Bauer, if they made a run in the back half, great. But if not, okay, that's fine. That was really a move for next season, too, so that's also something to keep an eye on as well.
Yep.
Great point. All right. All right, Off the Bench presented by United.
Shook his head. He gave one of these. He's like,
Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers right here, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. And then, so Reds in action again, 2 of them today. I know when this one's airing in Dayton, the Reds will have already wrapped up game number 1 and then game number 2 coming up here of the doubleheader between the Reds and the Braves. The Reds are on the road, of course, so there you go.
I was thinking back to like when the season first started, and we were, I guess a little bit before the season, the power outfield bat we were looking for, one of the big names was Jorge Soler. And I was looking at his stats last night for the Giants. He's been terrible. So again, not that you shouldn't go out and do this, but I feel like all the names we mentioned, unless I'm wrong, the names we mentioned to be that outfielder power bat, I don't think a lot of them have lived up to the hype to their respective teams this season.
Well, that's the benefit of getting someone mid-season is
Sure.
is like you know they're playing well now, and that doesn't mean that they're going to play well for the rest of the season. But like when every year's a little different, right? Like when you know the greats are going to be greats, but like these middle of the pack guys, they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. So that's the benefit of getting someone mid-season is, you know, for the most part, that he's playing well and he's going to continue to play well, seeing the ball well, all these things. And, yeah, I mean, I guess they did dodge a bullet with Jorge Soler there. But, you know, it is curious if they are going to get a big outfield bat. Who are we talking? Brent Rooker? Luis Robert? Lane Thomas? Like,
the Reds just aren't known for pulling any surprise moves throughout the deadline. That's why, like, when we talk the trade, it's like it's hard to really invest heavily into, oh, man, what are they going to do? They're not really known for doing a lot of big things behind the scenes, and what the stuff they do in front of the scenes, I mean, it's not really anything that's going to blow you away as far as that's concerned. But if Jeff Passan's catching wind of that, I do think that is something just to keep an eye on. But again, you'll hear from the Reds, and they'll say, well, you know, you got to kick the tires on everything. You got to, you know, you can't leave any stone unturned, as they like to say. So we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. Another thing that caught my attention, we don't talk a lot of Cleveland Guardians and anything like that, but it annoyed me yesterday because, you know, we're talking about the Reds. You know, do you go all in? Do you sell? Are you buyers, sellers? We're leaning more towards sellers because we know that at the end of the day, this team, I don't know exactly what they're playing for outside of mathematically still being in the playoff hunt. I don't think we look at this team and say, oh, man, this is a team that can make some noise come October. But you look at the Cleveland Guardians, and that's a team that can make some noise come October. I mean, they're right now sitting 5 games ahead in their division. And the fact that you have ESPN's Jeff Passan coming out saying that the Cleveland Guardians, they're looking to maybe slightly add, but they're not going all in. And they're 3-7 in their last 10. They're starting to struggle. They're starting to fall off. And the thing that ticks me off, and if I'm a Guardians fan, I'd be pissed. And if the Reds were in this exact situation, you're this close. The fact that you've dominated this division all season long, you've been one of the bigger surprise stories of the season. Everyone's been talking about the success of the Guardians. You're starting to kind of, lose a little bit of your momentum heading into the trade deadline. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted as a team that has been in the bottom 5 of spending over the last 5 years, has complete control of their division. Well, not complete control. They're only 5 games up, and you're starting to lose some momentum. I don't know how you can't be all in. Like, this is the stuff that pisses me off that teams do. I know, look, the Reds aren't in this position right now, but I don't like to know that, okay, that teams handle it this way. The Cincinnati Reds, if they had a 5-game lead in the division and they're 3-7 in their last 10, and they're, playing lights out, I would like to think that they're going to make a move at the deadline to try to make sure that you can ride the ship a little bit. I don't like the fact that the Guardians just continue to just do the typical, yeah, we're not all in. No, we're good. Well, I mean, hey, we're winning games. We're a surprise team. Great. We're a cute little fun story. I can't stand teams like the Guardians. I've actually started to dislike them more and more as this season has gone on because, like I said earlier, about a month, 2 months ago, I think they're a great story to a certain extent, but at the same time, I think it's bad for baseball when you have teams who continuously refuse to invest in their damn ball club, and they continue to be rewarded by winning because they do half of it right. They have a good farm system. They develop their talent. But outside, when they paid Ramirez, it was kind of like, there, you guys happy? Now we're done. I don't like that at all. If I'm a Guardians fan, I'm more furious with the Guardians right now if they don't do anything big at the deadline than the Cincinnati Reds fans who kind of understand why the Reds probably won't do anything big at the deadline.
I was thinking about, because I saw your tweet yesterday, and I agree with you. If there was ever a time to go all in, it's when you have the American League's best record at 60-40. You lead your division, and you're trying to win. I mean, you're trying to win a World Series at this point.
And you have guys playing very well.
What?
Like, you have guys throughout the lineup playing very well.
I mean, you're 20 games over 500. You have a good team there. You can certainly help. I was trying to look. I was hoping you would go 3 more seconds so I could look at this to see what they were good at this season. So they're 15th in batting average, 11th in OBP, 12th in runs scored, 12th in home runs, 13th in slugging. They're 5th in earned run average, 7th in batting average against, and 9th in walks plus hits per inning pitched. I do think that there is probably room to improve. They're not the best team in any of those categories. So I was gonna make sure that they weren't the best, because if they were the best in all those categories, then I'd say, what can you really improve upon? But they can improve upon that. They're towards the middle top tier of each of those categories. I don't understand the logic of not going all in when you have the American League's best record and you are a small market team that definitely has a chance to win a World Series this year.
You were pretty critical on them for saying they're not going all in, and you think it's bad for baseball because they're not spending money. They're not. There's more ways to skin a cat in Major League. There's multiple ways to do it. Who's the big money spender in the American League? Yankees. Who's the name that we all think of?
Yankees.
New York Yankees. How many times have they been to the World Series in the last 15 years? You want to know?
I know. I'm very well aware that it doesn't always equate to it.
2009. Guess who's been to the World Series since 2009? The Indians have. The Rays have. Rays have been twice. Royals have been twice. These are all teams that do not spend money. There's multiple ways to win in Major League Baseball. You don't have to follow the mold just because fans like it, just because fans are well acquainted to big names, and it's really exciting getting those acquisitions at the trade deadline. You don't always have to do that. They're 60-40 because their team's already pretty freaking good, and you don't shorthand the future just because, hey, we're playing pretty well right now. I just think it's all tired. I don't care which way you go when you are a Major League franchise. I just want you to have an identity. The teams that I don't like are the teams that don't have identities. The Indians have an identity, and it's develop young talent, develop pitching, and we'll keep doing that till the cows come home.
But it doesn't I mean, I'm not asking the Guardians to be top 10 in spending, but 5 straight years of being bottom 5 in spending, and it's like you get this close. You have the best record in baseball, and you're kind of tail spinning right now heading into the deadline. That's my point about this all, is it's not like I'm saying, hey, Guardians, you need to go blow up your entire farm system, but make a move, show that you're trying to be aggressive to put your team ahead a little bit. That's all. And I know the stat. Look, I know that money isn't always equating to success as far as World Series, this, that, and the other, but at the same time, a little balance wouldn't hurt the team and an organization like the Guardians either. I could appreciate being a fan of a team that is a small market team that uses money as an excuse in a lot of situations. To the Reds' credit, at times when they've tried to get themselves out of a jam like they did in 2019 heading into 20, that's when they opened up the books. They go after, and Moustakas didn't work out, but they go get Moustakas, they get Castellanos, they made the trade for Trevor Bauer, they go out and get Sonny Gray. The Reds at least at some point say, hey, you know what? Okay, now we got to use our money to dig ourselves out of a hole when we're not developing well. I would just appreciate a little bit more balance if I'm a Guardians fan as far as that's concerned. You could only do the whole storyline so many times of, man, look at all we're overcoming, bottom 5 in spending, and look at us. As you just heard from Elly, it's not. Yes, they're fine. Their record is showing that they're fine, but they're 3-7 in their last 10, and they're not an elite in any major category, as Elliot just talked about a little bit ago. But I agree, Reed. I'm not wanting them to go blow up their farm system. I'm not asking them to be top 10 in spending. The bottom 5 in spending drives me nuts when you're this close, and it's like, as a fan, I'm like, maybe you spend a little money. Maybe if you just add 1 or 2 key pieces to complement the great players you've developed, just a little balance is all I would like to see out of a team like the Guardians. But I'm rooting for them to fail now. I really am rooting for them to fail.
You and I both.
Both. Like, so. I like that. We closed it on an agreement. There you go. But all right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We got some Bengals stuff coming up around the corner. We got Elliot's headlines, little college football. Paul Feinbaum lays into Ryan Day in Ohio State and puts a big time, kind of an ultimatum on Ryan Day's career heading into this upcoming season. An update on the Cincinnati Bengals as far as a player that is not going to be available for them as camp is officially underway. I'm a Browns fan, so there's some Browns news I want to touch on coming up here in a little bit. But we'll be right back. Adam Schefter versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk about that when we come back. We'll be right back.
Back on.
All right, welcome back. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner with you here, along with Reed, Jimmy, Elliot, and Jacob. And rough and rolling. Happy Friday, of course, to Elliot, as far as that's concerned. But, okay, let's get to it. So, I'm not going to lie. When I see Bengals fans kind of get mad at Adam Schefter, I'm like, what? Come on, man. Like, there's not always – I mean, I know you're used to Cincinnati media where they absolutely drool over absolutely everything that this organization does, but it doesn't mean that national media has to sit there and find the flowers in the weeds every single time when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals team. But I'm starting to kind of understand a little bit why Bengals fans are getting a little bit annoyed with our guy, Adam Schefter. And I don't mean our guy. I don't think he's anyone's guy in this room. Jacob, am I right? Is he your guy? Are you an Adam Schefter guy?
He's not my guy. He's not my guy. I hate Adam Schefter very, very much.
Oh, hate?
And he continues. Well, he just continues
It's a
to
strong
pile
word.
on. It is a strong word, and I meant every syllable of it. I mean, he started off piling
one
on in the
syllable.
beginning of the season. He just
One syllable.
That's right.
Meant it all.
Meant it all.
Come on.
Meant it all. But yeah, I mean, he just keeps piling on. There's no need for it, and he hates this team because we don't give him any inside information like the rest of the teams do.
Yeah, the access is what, and like when you have NBA insiders, NFL insiders, MLB insiders, it's sometimes a good thing to have those guys on your side. And a lot of teams, if teams had it their way, they would be as zipped up and buttoned up as possible. They would be airtight. Nothing would leave that front office. But sometimes you have to give a little to be able to kind of have those guys play nice. Teams hate that, right? You know, I've always said too, even though I work in the media, I'm always laughing. Sometimes I take the coaches and organization's side. I'm like, oh, remember, those reporters have a job to do. And I always get annoyed with that. I'm like, but that doesn't mean that they have to answer you. It doesn't mean that they have to give you that information, right? Like as a fan, do I want that information? Yes. But at the same time, if I run an NFL team, if I'm the coach of an NFL team or MLB, manager, NBA, like if I don't want to give you something, if I don't want to leak information to you, I shouldn't have to do that or feel like I have to do that. But unfortunately, the power of the media, when you don't play nice with them, they have the means, they have the mic, they have the pen, they have the laptop, they have all the means to be able to push out any kind of narrative that they want. Doesn't mean that it's right, doesn't mean that a lot of reporters do it correctly, it doesn't mean that it's responsible of them, but at the same time, that's just the nature of it. So Adam Schefter has been very critical of the Bengals in the past because they don't feed him anything. All right, the Bengals don't. When Adam Schefter's breaking news, Adam Schefter, he's breaking news. Wojnarowski with the NBA, it's a Woj bomb. Like that's just us as fans. We just take the information that they give us. But if you ever sat back to think about how they go about getting that information, like the amount of behinds that they have to kiss, the amount of back alley deals that they have to make. Walmart, going behind Walmart and seeing our guy Jacob here. The amount of deals that they've had to make and the behinds that they've had to kiss to get that inside information. They worked pretty hard to do so, and that's why a lot of the biggest names in sports media are sometimes not the most liked or respected in sports media because of the way that they've had to go about doing it. So I say all of this because the Bengals just won't give him what he wants. And I am starting to pick up on the extra, like Adam Schefter's not a hot take guy. Adam Schefter's not really an opinion-giving guy. But I have noticed more of a Stephen A. Smith quality of Adam Schefter as of late, so I am willing to admit when I am wrong. I am wrong about Adam Schefter. I thought you guys were being a little emotional because he wasn't saying all positive things about your team. But I didn't have a problem. I know we discussed yesterday the Mike Brown stuff about, I told Joe Burrow to play, or not to play, and he played anyways. We were slightly critical of that. But outside of that, I thought it was a very well done day for the Cincinnati Bengals as far as addressing the media. They updated everybody on Joe Burrow's health. They were very candid about the ongoing contract negotiation, or at least the beginnings of it, of course, when it comes to Jamar Chase. I didn't, and I'm always a negative guy, I really couldn't pick anything apart there, and I'm always looking. I'm just going to be honest, right? But I couldn't pick anything apart. So I'm like, there's really nothing wrong there. And then I'm watching ESPN last night, and I see Adam Schefter, and I see Adam, and Adam Clark go on, and they're just unleashing on the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm like, how did you find something negative in all of that? Well, they're taking a lot of the stuff from that press conference about the handling of the negotiations and contracts handling with Jamar Chase, and basically just saying that the Cincinnati Bengals are robbing Jamar Chase. How are the Cincinnati Bengals robbing Jamar Chase when they just began the contract negotiations? This is how most teams handle this. There is a year left on his deal. Like, this is around the time you start the negotiations. And unless I'm missing something, there is no beef between Jamar Chase and the Cincinnati Bengals. Trust me, as a Browns fan, I would love just one player to start crapping all over their front office so I could say, see, I told you. It's annoying. I was happy with the Hendrickson thing, and then he got soft, and he backed down, and then he just returned, right? T. Higgins, I want out of here. All right, I'll sign the tender early. I was pissed, all right? But the bottom line is they're actually running things pretty well, and it pains me to say I don't have a problem with how they're handling this technically up front with Jamar Chase. So I'm willing to give it to you guys. Adam Schefter, I do think, has a problem with the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll read the quote and hand it off to you guys. This is Adam Schefter yesterday on ESPN's Get Up. Listen, Mike Brown doesn't often talk to the media. All right, he said on the show, and I think that may be why right there, because when you come out and speak like that, you're essentially saying we're not close to a deal, and we don't expect to be doing one anytime soon, though he is the next big contract we want to get done. Okay, so they're not going to get Jamar Chase done. Jamar Chase right now is scheduled to make just over $1 million this season. That is kind of wild, though, when you think about how talented he is. Jamar Chase right now is scheduled to make just over $1 million, as I said. Now, if you're Jamar Chase and you're advising him, why are you stepping on the football field at all for $1 million? So there's no controversy. There's no issues in Cincinnati, but let's get one started. That's
right.
What Adam Schefter's doing here. I could appreciate it, but I could at least see where you guys are coming from.
Why are you stepping on the field for $1 million? Well, maybe because you have a year left on your rookie contract.
Yeah,
I mean, because every player in the history of the NFL draft has played their rookie contract. I don't really understand. At least with the T. Higgins and the Trey Hendrickson stuff, he was just taking a story that was there and blowing it up more massively, like he tends to do. I mean, he's a national reporter who's trying to get clicks on different tweets. You can expect that when a guy of T. Higgins' caliber is, sitting out. There's a little bit of bad relations there, or at least it seems early in the offseason with a team that's, vying for a Super Bowl. So obviously that's a big story, and he's going to talk about it. And then Trey Hendrickson saying he might retire. Again, take that however you want, but this isn't even a story. He's just pulling something that he's completely making up, it seems. I mean, he tweets the quote about Mike Brown saying that they're not close with Jamar Chase, and he doesn't include the part that he says he's bending over backwards to get it done. I mean, everything that I took from that Mike Brown conversation was that the Bengals are 100% confident that they're going to get this deal done.
Remember how the quote went for Schefter. He goes,
right.
He's basically saying. And, I don't hear Adam Schefter say that. Adam Schefter is a insider. He's usually taking direct quotes that he gets from the teams. So when I read that, he's basically saying they're not close to getting a deal. I mean, they're not. But, again, he's putting that spin on it.
Right.
Oh, Mike Brown. Typical Mike Brown, as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, and I think it is just because Mike Brown doesn't give him information.
There's an incorrect. I don't know the word. There's an incorrect assumption about the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, Mike Brown throughout his tenure as the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals has been cheap in the facilities, right? Because for the longest time, we're one of the only teams that don't have an indoor facility. We have a bubble now. The stadium is pretty bleh. But there's also this idea that the Bengals are cheap when it comes to paying players, and that's simply not true. Andy Dalton got paid. Joe Burrow got paid. Chad Johnson, Joe Mixon, A.J. Greene. When there's players, Atkins, down
Carlos
the line.
Dunlap, all of them.
Like when we have perennial Pro Bowl players, they get paid. Andrew Whitworth got paid. And everyone goes, well, they let him walk at the end of it. He was over 30. That is the tried and true method of the Cincinnati Bengals. They say, hey, when you get to a certain age, sorry, we're not going to give you that second contract. We're not going to give you beyond that. But we'll pay you. We'll pay you what you're worth the first time around. We're just in a sport that is, the cliche, Trace always likes to say it, the not-for-long league. You don't want to pay people that's over the hump of 30. And that's okay. But there's this rumor, there's this idea that the Cincinnati Bengals don't pay their star players. That's just simply not true. It's just not.
So if we get to a year from now and there's some issues, That's when these conversations should be had. Then I believe the Cincinnati Bengals should be criticized. My only critique, and this isn't on the Bengals, it's about all teams. Like the Dallas Cowboys find themselves in an absolute blank show right now because what they do is kind of what the Bengals, but not the Bengals, all teams do is, well, they're not due to be paid right now, so we're just going to wait to the last second. And then what you end up doing is by waiting to the last second, you've let other players in similar positions get paid first, and then you're letting them dictate the starting point. That's how all teams do it. It doesn't mean it's necessarily the right approach. I think some Bengals fans could argue, including myself, who's not a Bengals fan, you already know, like my only argument to this, I'm not agreeing with him, but I guess my counter to this is, you know Jamar Chase is going to get at least 36 mil, right? You know that. So when they do say that they're not close, when they do say that there's still a lot of stuff to navigate through, and I know it's the structure of the contract, the upfront money, the bonus, this, that, the other, but like, it's not as if just starting the negotiations means that you just started looking at the numbers that you're going to have prepared to pay him. My thing is this: if you say you're going to bend over backwards to keep him, if you know he's going to be the number one wide receiver for Joe Burrow and the Bengals moving forward, I guess my question is, and this isn't a question like technically criticizing the Bengals, but why will it take so long? You know he's going to get 36. You know you're going to bend over backwards to keep him. I don't know if you're bending over that backwards. If it's taken this long, not this long. Now's not this long yet, but this shouldn't take this long. And like I said the same thing. I said the same thing about Joe Burrow last year. It got to a certain point where everyone else was starting to get paid, and then when everyone got paid, then there was a lapse of time where Joe Burrow still wasn't paid, and I'm like, but what are you waiting on? What exactly is Joe Burrow asking for that you're still holding up on? That you're like, well, I don't know, Joe. We're gonna have to go back and think about this. Like, sign the damn check. Tell Joe Burrow he's your guy. We knew he was going to be the guy, so why was there that extra time? Why did it take the literally days before camp before they announced it? It is what it is. But as far as Jamar Chase is concerned, this is not a drama thing yet. It can be. But if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, you know he's going to be the highest paid receiver in football. Why not just get it done now? What are we waiting on as far as that's concerned? I'm not hating on the Bengals. I'm not stirring the pot. That would be me with the Browns. That would be me with any team out there. You know he's going to get it. You know you want to keep him. It's not like he's asking for something that's super surprising out there. I just don't get what will take so long when it's all said and done.
Yeah, honestly, if I had to guess, obviously we don't know, but I think he's waiting on CeeDee Lamb. I think that makes the most sense. He has this fourth year of his rookie contract this year, the fifth-year option next year. CeeDee Lamb obviously drafted before him, the draft before him with Justin Jefferson. He's going to have to get locked up first. If CeeDee can surpass Justin Jefferson's 35 with maybe a 38, then Jamar gets 40. Yeah. Like it could be as much as $5-7 million. So I think it definitely benefits Jamar Chase to wait, and it would benefit the Bengals to get it done sooner. But again, how bought in all these stars seem to the Bengals culture, why would Jamar push for it? Like, he's not going to push for it now or anything. He's just going to wait. I think he's just going to play football and let it come when it does. If there was a holdout with Hendrickson that actually came to fruition or T. Higgins, then I'd be much more worried about the situation. But it seems like everyone's so bought in with the Bengals right now that it really doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get worked up about when the contract is signed. Joe Burrow was signed 10 minutes before opening kickoff of the season last year. Like, I'm not worried about when it's signed, because guess what? Jamar Chase is bought. He's gonna be a Cincinnati Bengal for life. There's a story I heard about Jamar Chase. When Joe Burrow bought his house, down there on the east side of Cincinnati, Jamar Chase started going down the street, knocking on the doors of Joe Burrow's neighbors and said, "Hey, can I buy your house? Hey, can I buy your house?" You know why? Because he's bought into Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow shows up with a bleached buzz cut. Guess what Jamar Chase does the exact same day? Buzz cut. These guys are boys. Like, they're going to play together. There's no worries. Like, Cincinnati, Adam Schefter stirring the pot. The date of when this gets signed doesn't matter to me, because guess what? Jamar Chase is going to be in this locker room for years to come, just like Joe Burrow. So I don't care when it happens. It can happen tomorrow. It can happen in week 6 of this season. I don't care.
Yeah, I think, too, what Jacob was talking about, CeeDee Lamb, I think Jamar Chase probably wants to wait for CeeDee Lamb to sign, whereas from a fan's perspective, you're like, oh, I want Jamar Chase to sign before, so then maybe if CeeDee Lamb gets more, you look at your deal and you're like, okay, this is a better deal. I think you've seen that happen a lot with quarterbacks across the NFL, specifically like with the Lions giving Jared Goff as much as they did. Trevor Lawrence gets more money than him. So then you're looking at that deal and you're like, okay, that's a pretty good deal now that they're going to be players with contracts that are that are higher. But at the end of the day, I have no worry that Jamar Chase is going to go anywhere else. I think he's going to sign here, and it's just I think it's all just drama.
I think it's almost a symbiotic relationship right now because the Bengals need Jamar Chase, and Jamar knows that. Jamar also, as Reed kind of just mentioned, needs Joe Burrow a little bit too because I think it's very clear that a lot of Jamar's success has been because of Joe Burrow. Jamar is a great receiver. I'm not saying he couldn't work anywhere else, but he's got a good thing going, and the team he plays for needs him and is expressing that they want him and need him. So I think it's one of those things where they're going to wait a little bit, just like I know I'm going to be here for a while. They know I'm going to be here for a while. I'm not going to rush and put my name on any paper when I got a guy here that's going to make X amount of dollars that's going to boost up this market. I'm going to get paid more. So I don't know. This is a non-story to me that Adam Schefter likes to make a story.
If you want to know why Adam Schefter does this, it's pretty simple. Adam Schefter could write a story about the Dallas Cowboys in any vein, and it gets a lot of clicks.
Yep.
People are going to pay attention to it. Adam Schefter could write any story about the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, the New York teams, San Francisco, all these teams that have huge fan bases. The Cincinnati Bengals, of 32 teams in the NFL, we're sitting, what, 30th, 31st, 20, somewhere in the very, very bottom, fourth, third, whatever you want to say in terms of fan base. So you kind of got to drum it up to get clicks. You kind of got to drum some stuff up because guess what? There's not a whole lot of Cincinnati Bengals fans that are just going to be clicking on stuff just to click on stuff. And he knows, hey, I can drum up, I can make a little bit of noise, and now the national media is going to talk about this. Now all these other people, now I get a little excitement, I get a lot of retweets, get a lot of likes, I get a lot of attention to old Adam Schefter off this little team called the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's the only reason he does it, and I don't blame the man. Listen, I'm on our thumbnail today. I made the thumbnails. I put Adam Schefter hates the Bengals. Guess what that is? That's a little bit of excitement. That's to get people to click on this stuff. I put crybaby Ryan J on the thumbnail. Why? Because I don't like the Ohio State Buckeyes. And you know what? The first comment on the thing was Mark said, "Man, we're starting with some Ohio State slander. Not a good start, boys." This is just what you do. And I don't blame Adam Schefter for doing that, but I will hate him because of it. I don't blame him for anything.
That's fair.
I don't blame him for doing that. But you know what? I get to not like you now.
I blame Mike Brown.
And at the end of the day, too, I think we've seen the T. Higgins conversation go the way it has because of how committed they are to Jamar Chase and his future with the Bengals.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, again, T. Higgins is going to be a Brown next year. So, ready for it. Just saying. Can't wait. So that's Amari Cooper. He's just going to sit there. He's going to hold down the spot for one more year. Your guy.
How many years you got left on that thing?
2 more.
How many more million?
I'm fine.
Well, it was all up front.
I'm pissed that they haven't started an extension, to be honest with you.
Really? Get him while he's cheap.
They've won a lot of games during the Deshaun era.
That's right.
Most of them without him out there, but I mean, it's
yeah, with Flacco.
He's the team leader.
Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Elliot's going to let us know if there were sports or not happening, from the last time we chatted. So we have that coming up. We have more Bengals here in a little bit. I know there's an update on Trent Brown and what this can mean for Amarius Mims. We do have that here shortly. And then I don't think it's too much Ohio State slander. You have 2 guys that I don't think are going to have too much Ohio State slander on the show.
No, it's just when the guy that's in charge of the thumbnails and titles hates Ohio State, it gets what we're talking about gets misconstrued.
You can admit Ryan Day is kind of a crybaby.
All right, more off the bench, and we're done with that. We'll be right back. You know what I'm going to miss for the next week?
What are you going to miss?
When it's time to go to break and you give me one of these.
Someone else is going to have to do it.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to take that role?
They're not going to do it the same, man. Like the way it's just so friendly. It's like, hey, not rushing you. It's just.
Well, I've changed it over the past couple of months. It used to be like I would go like this, or I'd wave to you, or I'd do some sort of hand motion. Now I just go like this, just break it off. So
Yeah.
Fight.
First down.
Well, I hope Jimmy's going to do it.
Thanks.
Huh?
What was the first down thing?
He went like this.
Oh, I thought we were doing
Well, they were.
a DT 47.
They were. I was just. trying to, before it got too far.
Fair enough. We appreciate you keeping us on the rails.
You know
All right,
what? Oh, no, my bad. My bad. I thought you were done. My bad. Continue.
Just go ahead and talk.
No, you go ahead.
It's your show.
When's Casey back?
That's right.
Casey? No, I did not mean to cut you off. My apologies. But Jacob, I don't think there's any sports going on. None. Absolutely none.
None.
Unless Elliot says that there are sports going on. So you know what time it is?
What time is it?
Is that who I think it is?
That's James
Is
Madison.
that James Madison?
Yeah, it is.
Well,
Holy
James
cow.
Madison, if you could just hold on 1 second, it's time for
Okay.
Elliot's headlines.
If you do the whole headlines in James Madison, I'll give you $10. $5.
And the headlines today. The Reds were off yesterday due to weather. They have a doubleheader with the Braves this afternoon. First game is at 12:20, where it is Frankie Montas taking on Alan Winans. Winans is 5 innings of work this season. He's allowed 8 hits and 6 earned runs, which equates to a 10.8 ERA. The second game starts at 6:05, where Chris Sale takes on Nick Martinez. Sale is 13-3 with a 2.7 ERA and a 0.95. What?
I'm gonna mute your mic.
I'm impressed that was almost a what she said moment.
He's
but
offering me
I'm surprised he went that long.
He was offering me $5 to do it all the way, but I guess I'll stop. Around the league, Marlins, they take care of the Orioles 6-3. Jazz Chisholm and Nick Gordon each drove in 2 runs. Paul Skeens takes his first loss of the season. Must have been a bad game from Paul. Pirates fall. They lost 2-1. Skeens went 8 1/3 innings, allowing only 4 hits and 2 earned runs while striking out 8. The win-loss stat might not mean a lot.
He might just be the best pitcher in baseball by a pretty good margin.
Nope. That's pretty crazy.
Second.
He's way better than Scooball.
Is it?
Way better.
Really?
Not even close.
But is he better than Drew Smiley?
Probably not.
Maybe
Are you going to
not.
have the same take about Scooball when he's pitching for the Orioles?
No.
Okay.
What about when he's a Red?
Who do we get in return?
Bubba Thompson.
He'll really help your Mudheads.
Yeah.
No, he's one below, actually.
Bubba Thompson is a World Series
They won't
champion.
call him up. They've seen him play. Guardians beat the Tigers 5-4. Jose Ramirez homered to end the 3-game losing skid. Padres blanked the Nationals 4-0. Arias and Profar hit back-to-back home runs. Mets win another Subway Series game as they hang on to beat the Yankees 3-2. Brandon Lau's 2-run home run was the difference in the Rays' 4-2 victory over the Blue Jays. Phillies, they shut out the Twins 3-0. All 3 runs were scored in the 9th inning. Brewers shut out the Cubs 1-0. Bryce Turang's RBI grounder in the 8th was the difference. Readeroo, shout out to your Cubbies. Losing 1-0 is a tough one. It's a tough way to go.
Yeah, I told Jacob yesterday we were doing the Little League games, and I looked at him and I said, yes, the Cubs game is in delay. I can go home and watch the Cubs. So I go home, I turn on the Cubs. Mariana goes, we're watching Love Island instead. So I watched Love Island. So I didn't even get to see it. I didn't even get to see it. Didn't even get to see it.
Well, based on-
Nothing like working all day and then watching Love Island, which is also work.
What happens in Love Island? I get confused by all the love shows.
I can't.
Is it like The Bachelor? Is that the one where the hot people, they can't engage in
Oh, that's too
romantic
hot to
relations?
handle.
That's too hot.
Oh.
Very similar setup where you just get
Go to the villa.
You just get the hottest people on the planet and you put them together in this like little villa, and they've got to like match up, they've got to pair up, they've got to date, and if they're single, they get kicked off.
Okay.
But like while they're also matched up, they're dating other people.
That's the best thing you can do for a relationship, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I'll be tuning in for the next episode. Rangers take care, as if it was on regular television. Rangers take care of the White Sox 3-2. Diamondbacks 6-2 over the Royals. Red Sox shut out the Rockies 6-0. The Dodgers win another last night 5-2. Shohei Ohtani drove in 3 runs, and the Dodgers have beaten the Giants 5 straight times. The Giants are a team, Reed says this a lot, I will never figure out that team, how they win. I don't get it. I don't get who they are. And basically what they are is they have really good pitching, and outside of that, they've got a bunch of middling players. But Good for the Dodgers, I guess.
You remember when the Dodgers won 110 games, and I don't think they won the division.
Yeah.
That was like 2 years ago. Or did they win the division and lost in the first round? It was one of the
two.
Like the
I think they
Dodgers won like
lost. I think they
109,
lost.
one team won 110, and it just
Yeah.
didn't matter because they lost.
That series, the Giants versus
Giants
Dodgers,
won 107.
Okay.
the Dodgers versus Giants playoff series. I remember how it ended. It ended on one of those check swings that the umpire ruled a strike, and it definitely wasn't. That's a tough one. I remember watching that game.
Is that the most contested rivalry in baseball right now? Because like people die at those games at least one time.
Giants Dodgers.
Yeah.
I don't.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
A couple years ago, there was like a fight. Like it's behind the Boston Red Sox and the Yankees. It's probably the biggest rivalry.
Well, the Reds and the Guardians. I think you have to put that.
That's
in.
right.
And a couple years
forgot
ago,
about
they jumped. There was like a full blown fight, and someone unfortunately passed.
Wow.
Interesting.
The Giants are one of those teams that I kind of just haven't thought about since they won those 3 World Series in like 5 years,
6 years.
6 years.
I haven't had a guy
It was the
hit
defense.
30 home runs since Barry Bonds.
Really?
Wow,
Isn't that wild?
that is wild.
Crazy.
Moving on, NFL news. Michael Gallup, former Cowboys wide receiver and member of my fantasy team, announced his retirement from football after 6 seasons. A
Redraft or dynasty?
pretty short career. Redraft.
Okay, you're good then.
Yeah.
One of my buddies has him in dynasty.
Really?
And that's a real kick to the groin if your receiver retires.
Oh, that's brutal. I mean, Michael Gallup was like a wide receiver of 3 though, so he wasn't really helping anybody.
3 flexes in the lineup.
3 flexes. in the
Yeah,
lineup?
10-man, 3 flex. Come
How
on.
much quarterback? One of the flexes.
2 quarterbacks, super flex. I'm a sicko.
Oh, what a sicko. And finally, Bill Belichick. Kyle Shanahan came out and said Bill Belichick declined an offer to come join the San Francisco 49ers. We were talking about it, whether or not he could fit as a head coach. I guess the answer to that might be a no, but he does not have any interest in being an assistant or a coordinator for a team. He wants to be a head coach. He wants to have all that control, and he is not willing to do or settle for anything less.
Which makes sense. If
I
you're
get
Bill
it.
Belichick, there's no way you're leaving a situation where you were the GM, the coach, basically the
Yeah.
owner. You did everything ran through you, and then you go be a DC. I mean, I still find it hard to believe that he was okay giving up front office control like he said he was with Atlanta.
Which mercifully he had that taken from him. By the way, who are you guys more surprised about not getting a job? Mike Vrabel or Belichick?
Vrabel by a
Vrabel.
mile.
Vrabel.
I'm still shocked, Vrabel. I'm very scared that he's on that Brown staff. I
Maybe
think
he'll
he's
coach
going to
the
be
Bengals
great.
next year.
I would love for him to be the coach of the Bengals.
Yeah,
But I love Zac Taylor.
Vrabel's going to scoop in or scoop one of these jobs. That
I
whoever gets fired a quarter of the way through the season or halfway through the season, he's going straight there.
It's going to be Philly.
Really?
I think it's
Philly
gonna
or
be
the
Philly.
Bills. But
Really?
if you're Philly or the
Be a good
Bills and you have a head coaching vacancy to fill, and you have Vrabel and Belichick, who are you picking? You should
Vrabel.
pick Vrabel.
I think you're going Vrabel. Bills might go Belichick because they've seen it up close and personal for
Yep.
so long. Belichick
They've been on the
dominating
wrong
them.
end. Yeah.
Right.
There'd be that aura.
And I think Belichick would love to go back to the AFC East.
I'm taking Vrabel though.
If
I'm
I'm
taking
the
Vrabel. I'm
Bills,
taking
I'm not
Vrabel.
taking
Yeah.
either one of those guys.
You don't like Vrabel?
Both defensive guys. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, don't want the defensive guy with Josh Allen.
Right now, every hire is basically all the teams that have hired the offensive-minded guy has been. That's why Belichick, I think, was the sexiest option out there. And that's why I still think Vrabel somehow ended up with the Browns in some made-up assistant to the general manager capacity. So we'll see what happens. But yeah,
Other news: tennis star Coco Gauff has been selected as Team USA's female flag bearer.
It's probably the two of the most recognizable flag bearers
Yep.
in recent Olympic history. I mean, usually it's track, swimming, great athletes, don't get me wrong, but LeBron and Coco Gauff, both household names, pretty cool.
Very, very, very cool. And final news of the day: Tiger's son has been eliminated from the U.S. amateur event. Very sorry, did not make the cut. Charlie Woods. Charlie Woods might not be a great golfer.
Charlie Woods, the
He's
Bronny
also
of golf?
12, so
The Bronny of golf?
anything can happen.
Nepotism?
No, well, it's definitely nepotism. I'm going to cheer for Charlie Woods though harder than I'm going to cheer for Bronny. I'm going to cheer for Charlie Woods like I've never cheered for anybody in my entire life.
I'm going to be a Charlie Woods fan as well.
Charlie should always just automatically make the cut. And if I'm Tiger Woods, I'm making that happen. The out nepotism LeBron.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
right.
Get, you get drafted to the G League. Well, I can one up that.
Played on a tough course this weekend.
Where was it at?
Oakland Hills in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Right across the street from my house.
Any chance you could
Yeah.
drop anything near? Yes,
Exactly.
I appreciate that.
But no, it's a tough course.
Ooh, in final news, I just saw this on. This just came up on the ESPN bottom line here. We have Detroit Lions head coach here, Dan Campbell, said, "We don't live off reputation, we live off work, and that's what's gotten us where we're at. It's been a long, hard road to get where we're at right now, and there's a price to be paid, and so we've got to pay it again."
I feel like you do live off reputation, and the reputation is biting kneecaps. And
Let's go.
You ever bitten a kneecap, Jim?
No, but we're about to bite all of them this year.
Hell yeah.
Good
Come
Bengals.
on,
It's a good Bengals hat you're wearing.
That's a good Bengals hat.
that fires you up, does it not?
Sure. I will say, like, I think
I love Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell's shtick, if that was a losing team, there's not a shtick
Oh my
in
gosh.
sports that would go out quicker, would burn out quicker than that one.
They were a
But
losing team.
Yeah,
Not
I
for
know.
long.
If they continue to win, he will be one of the most beloved coaches ever. Similar to Coach O, like he can be
Yeah.
like a Coach O type figure. If they have like back-to-back losing seasons, oh my God, that shtick is gonna get so tired when he's at the microphone cursing and throwing things, throwing chairs at reporters.
That's why I think Philly's on
Biting
the outs.
people.
If they don't stay on top,
Yeah.
Sirianni's bit about watching Rocky every day and all that crap is going to get old.
yeah.
In Dan Campbell's defense, he had a terrible season his first season, and then had a 1-6 start to the next season. People wanted him fired, and he's kept going with his shtick, and now we're here. So,
I just enjoy it because
but people were tired
Jamel
of it
Hill
then.
off. So
so
The way you said shtick there, it makes me think you don't think it's a shtick.
no, I don't. Not at all.
You think that's just him 24/7?
Well, yes, because have you seen his speech where he talks about getting his 2 extra large
Yeah, Americanos.
venti Americano coffees and every single morning? My dad saw him walk out of the Starbucks with those 2 coffees. So it's some of it's got to be real.
I don't mind the
Pantera.
shtick.
Do
I
you,
don't mind.
Go ahead,
No,
sorry.
no, you're good.
I was gonna say, did you ever get mad? Because Everett kind of brought it up in the chat. Did you ever get mad that he didn't kick those field goals in that
No.
game?
Nope.
Really?
If I was a fan, I would love that.
Oh, that's terrible.
You would be mad about that?
The first one, I forget which one. One of them was okay. The other one was ludicrous.
You're not wrong,
was the
but if,
2 in
that's,
the one
if you
game
build
that,
your
like-
whole season on that.
Sure.
We
Like
once-
that one in the Cowboys game was outrageous. You know that.
So
Going for a 2-point conversion from your own 11-yard line.
that game didn't matter.
Sure, but in the large scheme of things, it didn't matter. But that's still absurd.
There's different levels of
I
aggressive.
guess. I
Like
don't
you
know.
have.
I wanted to go for it.
You have like Harbaugh with the Ravens, who gets praised every damn time he goes for on
Right.
4th down. Mike Tomlin does it. Everyone drools. Everyone's like, "This is why he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's so aggressive." But then when you have a coach that the media likes to beat up on, of course, like Dan Campbell. But again, I think there's layers to going for it on 4th down is one thing, but the situation of that is bad.
They won so many games last season off going for it in times where it probably wasn't the best idea. They went for it on opening night in Kansas City on their own. They faked a punt on their own 20-yard line and got a first down. So
I just would have signed a kicker that was much better.
yes,
That would have helped.
that would have helped.
You talked about the shtick. I know we got to go to break, but you talked about the shtick for Dan Campbell. I don't mind the shtick as long as you have good coordinators around you. Because at the end of the day,
100.
as a head coach, like as long as you get guys that want to run through a brick wall for you, as long as you have the belief of the guys in the locker room, that's the most important thing. As long as he has a good OC, which he does, as long
we
as
know
the
how good
defense,
Ben Johnson
yeah,
is.
as long as the defense is being taken care
Is it
of.
still Aaron Glenn?
Still Aaron Glenn, yeah. I
The
think
DC?
Yeah, he's DC. I think it shows a lot that Ben Johnson was it. I know a lot of it has to do with how much money he wanted to leave Detroit, but it was still he wanted to stay. So that's why he was asking for so much money to go be a head coach somewhere else, so he could more than likely stay. and
See,
be
that's
the
why I was a
offensive
big Rex
coordinator.
Ryan guy. I don't know how many people like Rex Ryan, but I loved Rex Ryan because that was another shtick type of coach that, again, you put the right coordinators around him, I'm fine with him being the head coach. He brings kind of a toughness to your team type of thing, and that's what Dan Campbell's doing for the Lions as far as that's concerned.
Great.
You think Dan Campbell's would get veneers like Rex Ryan?
Probably not. That's
Probably
not.
not. It's not gritty enough.
I
You
was
can't
gonna
bite
s-
kneecaps with veneers.
Yeah.
I think that's why you need the veneers. I mean, that bone hitting those teeth, you're gonna need those. Those veneers are ridiculous.
Hold up on the
They're
veneers.
very
That
funny.
chaw, you don't want that chaw to stain the new
Right,
veneers,
right.
right? All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, right here on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. More Off the Bench when we come back.
on.
Mics are on.
They are. And I'm ready to roll.
Continue. No, so welcome back Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Talking about Dan Campbell and referring to his antics as kind of a shtick, and whether or not you like that or not. I mean, look, the Cincinnati Bengals have a guy in Zac Taylor that is very, very vanilla, but he has a hands-on approach because he ends running we think so, right? Like, have they announced if he's going to be basically giving up the play calling duties and this, that, and the other?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
By the way, do you guys think he should?
Personally, no. I like it. I like him calling plays.
My thing is, like, their offense, it's all predicated on if Joe Burrow's healthy, that offense is fine.
I think Zac Taylor's play calling gets a bad rap. I think he's a better play caller than he gets credit for.
I think I made this take all the time last year, and listen. I have like 4 takes, and I just circle them around. And one take of mine is that the easiest complaint and the most tired complaint that fans make is about the play call. You don't know what works and what doesn't work. You see the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes doing ring around the rosy, whatever it's called, and then they run a play, and then it's 3 laterals, and it ends up a touchdown. You're like, man, why can't we have unique play call like that? Then your team doesn't, and it doesn't work, and you sit there and go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. What was that? It is so tired. All that you care about is if a play works or not. And you know what? When it doesn't work, you can easily just go, oh, we have terrible play call. You don't know what works and what doesn't work. So stop saying, we have tired play call. We have bad play call. It's tired. It's just tired.
How good has this offense looked with everyone healthy and out there as well? And Zac Taylor's called the plays for the entirety of Joe Burrow's career.
And he gets no credit when they're playing well.
Exactly.
But when they weren't playing well, like last September, I actually gave him a lot of credit because Zac Taylor had the responsibility of calling plays for a hobbled quarterback that could barely put any weight on that calf, right? So everyone was expecting him to call plays as if you have a healthy Joe Burrow. I thought he was actually doing a good job calling plays around the injury. Fans drunk up in the stands wanted drop back and throw it 50 yards to Jamar Chase, and it's like he can't do that. They were almost having to protect him with the play calling, getting rid of the ball quick. And I thought that was smart. I had no problem with that, but people were just jumping all over him. And then when they turned it around, Joe Burrow bails out Zac Taylor, and I'm like, I'm not arguing he's a top 5 coach, but man, I've never seen a coach get less credit for a high-powered, offensive, successful team than Zac Taylor, as far as that's concerned.
My one gripe with Zac Taylor's play calling was when he had Joe Burrow throw the ball 50 times on a strained calf.
Sure.
Which I think, looking at it, grand scheme of things, obviously he knows more about what's going on than I do, so it's probably not fair for me to get up in arms about that. But, yeah, it's the same thing that happens with David Bell. It's like when the Reds win, he gets no credit. 100%. When the Reds lose, everyone wants him out. It's the same thing.
It's coaches aren't like – they make bad play calls all the time. Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it's the most tired thing because there's no tangible way to prove that you're right or wrong. So you can continue to say it as a fan, and you're immune to any criticism. Because guess what you can say? Like, oh, you think the play call's good? You see what Andy Reid's doing over there in Kansas City? You see what so-and-so Kyle Shanahan's doing in San Francisco? Well, yeah, Kyle Shanahan has Brandon Ayuk, and the Bengals have all these stars too. But when it works, it's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, whoever made the play. That's a great play by them. When it doesn't work, it's Zac Taylor's fault. And it's part of the cross that you bear when you are a head coach, when you are an offensive play caller. That's part of it. Just like when I openly criticize David Bell, because I think I'm one of the few guys that does criticize David Bell in this room. I say that you should be criticized for when things don't work, and that's your job. But I think that it's a tired take when fans openly go, the play calling's terrible, because there's no way to debate. There's no way to prove that they're right or wrong. You can just say it and you're immune to criticism because of it, because there's no way to quantify whether you're right or wrong.
I've had issues in the past with Zac Taylor's play calling, and it's pretty much similar to David Bell. It's that whole thing. It's similar to being like a relief pitcher in baseball. You're only going to be remembered for your bad ones. Unless you do something so preposterous like the ring around the rosy thing that the Chiefs do, or something so outrageous that you just have to remember it because it's so silly. But yeah, I've had an issue with Zac Taylor. My issue with Zac Taylor is that I don't think he's a great head coach. I think he's a middle of the pack, similar to David Bell. I think he's a middle of the pack coach. He's nowhere near the bottom tier of bad coaches. He's not a bad coach. I just don't think he's a great coach. I think this offense kind of runs itself. And outside of a couple questionable goal line decisions from Zac Taylor, I think he's done a serviceable job. I think once we get to the goal line, I get nervous with ZT. I get a little bit nervous with ZT once we start doing what's the little shuffle play we do.
That one wasn't great.
Listen, once we get around the goal line, I'm nervous. Once we get inside the 10-yard line is when I don't think he's been great.
Well, I can tell you the number one reason that teams are good in the red zone. The number one reason why teams are good in the red zone is offensive line. That is the most important thing, because guess what? If you're passing, you need time because the field is so bunched up that the players, the wide receivers need time to get open. That's just simple. When you're on your own 20-yard line, they can go anywhere. The field's wide open. But when you're on the 5, it's pretty tight up there. So you need time to get open. The Bengals they've had a mediocre line for the past 2 years, I'd say. Mediocre to slightly mediocre. But they've never had a great offensive line. That's why they struggled in the red zone. That's why they struggled to score touchdowns during their Super Bowl run. Is because, listen, if your quarterback's getting sacked 9 times, you got a bad offensive line. And when you got a bad offensive line, it's tough to score when you get in the 20-yard line. And on top of that, when you have a bad offensive line, you don't get the push. You don't get the push on the run game. So we can criticize Zac Taylor for his red zone play calling all we want, but it's a simple fact of they don't have the horses right now. Jamar Chase is a fantastic receiver, but he's not T. Higgins is. He's a vertical threat in the red zone. I think Mike Gesicki is going to be a fantastic red zone threat because of the different things he can do out of the tight end slot. But I think it's like if there is one critique that you can have of the Cincinnati Bengals offense over the past 3 years is that they have struggled in the red zone. I don't think that's arguable. But I don't think it's because of play calling. I think it is truly because the most important thing in the red zone is your offensive line. Guess who the best offensive line, or guess who the best red zone teams are? Philadelphia Eagles. Got a pretty good offensive line. Then you're looking at the Baltimore Ravens. Pretty good offensive line. Both with mobile quarterbacks. We don't really have a mobile quarterback either. So it's just that. We all are circling around the same thing. Zac Taylor is going to continue to get flack for his play calling. And he shouldn't be immune to it. He shouldn't have diplomatic immunity from play calling critiques. But it's just such a tired thing to get mad about. It's just such a tired thing because you can't quantify it. It's just easy to say, oh, we only scored 14 points today. Well, our play calling must suck. We've got too many good players for it to work, for it not to work. Sometimes players don't execute. Sometimes the offensive line's not very good. Sometimes the defense just outplays you. Zac Taylor has been the author of an offense that has gone to the Super Bowl and an offense that has been to the AFC Championship game. And both times we've lost to one of the greatest defensive players that we've ever seen in the Super Bowl, and a Hall of Fame quarterback, and one of the greatest coaches that the modern era has seen. And the other time we've lost to, in the AFC Championship, we lost to the second greatest quarterback that's ever played the game. So no, I'm not going to get on Zac Taylor for his play calling.
Go.
Well, I was just going to add, I know it's going to be silly sports talk.
I love silly sports
Well,
talk,
I was just going to say, how far away is Zac Taylor? Because you look at David Bell, right? And I don't mean to compare him. Hang with me. David Bell has been the manager of the Reds for 6 seasons. Each season's probably been more disappointing than the next. He's had a couple of okay runs at it. And outside of that, he hasn't advanced in the postseason. Objectively, he is, in my opinion, he's failed as manager of the Reds because you have to win games. Zac Taylor, people still get on Zac Taylor, and he's probably had the opposite. I think Zac Taylor's been very, very good, gotten the Bengals to a place where they quite literally have only been twice before, almost won the damn thing. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's had 2 AFC championship games. People still want Zac Taylor fired.
And not to mention what he did last year with Jake Browning, making that offense
I still give Zac Taylor a ton of credit for that. Saying that, how far away are you from Zac Taylor to be fired opposed to a guy like David Bell?
I think Zac Taylor is the coach of the Bengals until he doesn't want to coach the Bengals anymore.
I don't know if that's necessarily true because I think if there's back-to-back years of not making the postseason and like I'm not talking like 9-8 not make the postseason. We're talking like 6-11,
sure,
7-10 back-to-back years of that. Then yeah, Zac Taylor's probably gone. But I've had this opinion that if what Zac Taylor did last year with a 30th ranked defense and a healthy quarterback for 4 games and playing the hardest schedule in NFL history, if going 9-8 with under those circumstances didn't sell you on Zac Taylor, then I'm sorry to tell you, your mind's made up on Zac Taylor. It's not going to change. It's like arguing with your family at Thanksgiving over politics. What are you doing? Their mind's made up. Your mind's made up. Just move on and talk about something more forgiving. Yeah. Because if your mind is not made up after last year, then when is it going to be made up?
My only argument against it, and I'm not saying fire Zac Taylor, my only argument against it, I feel like the leash in the NFL is shorter. Because obviously your window of having an elite quarterback like Joe Burrow is only X amount of years. Having a guy like Jamar Chase be healthy, X amount of years. I think it's a little bit different in baseball than in football, obviously, so it's impossible to compare. But I think that leash, the pressure of an NFL coach is so much greater, and the demand and what you are expected is so much greater than that of David Bell, who's managing a team that has done nothing for 35 years. I think that's where it comes into play a little bit, where I could see if they have a bad season this year, and God willing they will not, if they have a bad season this year, they win 7 games, and then the start of next season, you start, I don't know, let's throw a number out there, 2-5. That's, in my opinion, where you go, you know what, that's when you would probably be gone. Just because of how high pressure it is to be a head coach in the NFL and how those windows work, because a prime Joe Burrow, I don't know how long the prime of Joe Burrow is going to be. You have to capitalize when he's healthy and ready to go. He is healthy and ready to go this season. That's why you expect so much of him. And the expectations, it's so hard to live up to them because our expectations are the AFC Championship game every year. So it's you have to tread those waters. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, if the rebuild would have taken longer, I think the leash would be shorter. But because he took a team that has never been to this level in modern football, to this level so quickly and so consistently, I think his leash is longer than most NFL coaches.
Especially since his side of the ball is what led them there. I mean, the defense stepped up big time throughout that Super Bowl run, but it wasn't like, you know how there's some teams that get there, I mean, their defense carried them throughout the playoffs, right? Like, it was Zac Taylor's side of the ball that was, and I know Joe Burrow gets all the credit for that, but like it's Zac Taylor's side of the ball that led them there, so I think that's what also helps extend that leash.
That take was more refreshing than a drink of Pawnee water, because I love the hosts. I truly do love the hosts that we've had on this show, but they were woke on 2021 Bengals offense. They were there. They were a little woke on that. So that was very refreshing.
The BAD word was thrown around.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'll say is that you've also got to realize the organization in which Zac Taylor is coaching. We held on to Marvin Lewis for a decade and a half in a league where guys move around. And things are changing rapidly in the Bengals. But listen, Zac Taylor is going to be here for the long haul, and I think that's for the better. I think Zac Taylor also doesn't benefit from the aura that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have. Like Joe Burrow, his personality, the cult of personality that is Joe Burrow, has swallowed up so much of what has made this Bengals team tick that Zac Taylor kind of gets swept underneath the rug. And I don't think that's a bad place to be for Zac Taylor, but he's not getting the proper credit that he deserves because of it. You look at the other great coaches in the NFL, they've done it with multiple quarterbacks. Andy Reid did it for a decade and a half with Philadelphia, went to 4 or 5 NFC championships, and now his
technically did it with Alex Smith too. Technically,
right? Well, he never won a playoff game with Alex Smith. Yeah. They went like 7 straight years without winning a playoff game. But yeah, they get Patrick Mahomes, and they've won three Super Bowls now. Kyle Shanahan's done it with multiple quarterbacks. John Harbaugh's done it with multiple quarterbacks. So like Zac Taylor's only done it with Joe Burrow, but because I think that Joe Burrow's personality swallows up so much of the real estate that the Bengals are allowed in the NFL and the media. That's why we can't talk about Zac Taylor on a grander scale. But don't get it twisted. Zac Taylor is one of the true authors of what has been this Cincinnati Bengals team over the past few years. And God be willing, I don't think that any time near you will hear me as a Cincinnati Bengals fan, as someone who's on me, I won't call for Zac Taylor's head anytime soon, because I think that's absolutely silly.
Yeah, I don't think we're anywhere close for that. Not even like at all.
No,
this all started because of Dan Campbell, by the way. I mean, great. I love the fact that we filled a whole segment today with something that wasn't planned. I love it. No, when it comes to Zac Taylor, look at the leash that Marvin Lewis got. And right. I was a Marvin Lewis guy too. I also could acknowledge that it was time for him to go when it was time for him to go. The next stage of this, though, this Joe Burrow era and Zac Taylor era, though, like you look what Andy Reid has done. Like, so you get the rookie contract run of your quarterback, right? And I'm not discrediting the success, but it's easier when a lot of your biggest playmakers are not taking up the majority of your cap space. When you look at the Chiefs, the second stage that they went in, once their quarterback got paid and they couldn't afford Tyreek Hill and they had to start they drafted really well, especially on defense, keeping it going. That's going to be Zac Taylor's biggest thing. This upcoming season, still a loaded roster. I'm not saying they won't be loaded next year, but now they got to become it's the front office's responsibility, too, to start becoming very strategic with contracts, making sure you're drafting properly, making sure you're developing. There's things that are going to be out of Zac Taylor's control moving forward. Things, Andy Reid's a genius, right? But that front office continued once Patrick Mahomes got paid and once, guys started getting paid heavily. That front office had to get creative with contracts. They had to draft well. They had to develop well. There are some things. I mean, Andy Reid benefited from that from the Chiefs. Zac Taylor, we could talk about his run coming up. Some of it's out of his control. You're going to have Joe Burrow. Sounds like you're going to have Jamar Chase for quite some time. But if they don't hit, like with Mims, we're going to talk about him coming up. If he doesn't hit, if some other guys that they're drafting don't hit and they don't, hit in free agency well, those are some things that when the team takes a step back, that's not all going to be on Zac Taylor, but he'll ultimately eat it because of it. So that's something to keep in mind, too. The front office plays a big role in the future of Zac Taylor. It's not all on him as far as that's concerned. Hell yeah. There you go. I like that. Just so soft. He's got, it's just a casual, you did that hard, Jacob. You went too hard with it. He just goes, like he's at an auction. Like he's raising the, there you go. Yeah. I do that. I do.
Do you? Can you do it?
Oh, wait. I thought you were making fun of how quiet I was talking.
No. I was
doing the auctioneer.
I was being the auctioneer. Can you get?
I thought you were telling me that you're an auctioneer.
I thought
that's
so
what
too.
I thought too.
Oh, God, no.
I was going to have you send us
I
a
talk
break
really
real
fast.
cool like.
Can I get one to
Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We'll be right back.
What's up?
Waluigi.
We've the last two breaks, so I don't know.
What a
I don't know how
character,
Casey
man.
does these
Out of
breaks,
all the
but I
characters in that
mute the
franchise.
mics. I let everyone know that the mics are muted, and we have a little sidebar conversation. And I give them 18 seconds to get out their opinion, stress everything. We're getting close. We're getting close to the mics coming back on. But guys, we got to pay the bills. We got to pay the bills. Not the Buffalo Bills.
Was that James
Was
Madison?
that James Madison a little bit?
Who?
Was that James Madison?
I'm not following.
Okay.
We gotta pay the bill. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data center world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data centers, supporting both centralized and work from home computing modules to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
visit Encore.tech.
Thanks,
The
Jim
path to
Barrow.
innovation begins here. Are you still drinking regular water?
Ew.
Are ya? Are ya? Did you know that there is a brand new alkaline water out on the market? And I got to tell you stuff. This stuff tastes great. It says right here on the side of the bottle, best tasting water in the world. And it sure is, because it is bottled right here, right across the street in Hamilton, Ohio. It uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water. And like I said, it is truly the best tasting water in the world. Guys, I don't do this like as a bit. This is an involuntary reaction. This is live. You ready for this? Pretty good. Pretty good. Please visit their website at pawneewater.com. That's PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water at a
gulp.
store near you. And a final word, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code OTB
for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Next Tuesday, a baseball team that normally plays 81 games on the north side of Chicago comes down here to Cincinnati. There will be $3 beers sold at Great American Ballpark. There will be $2 hot dogs, and there will be $1 ice cream pints. I think that off the bench watchers and off the bench roster should, I don't know, go to the game, hang out a little bit,
I'd love nothing more.
get a beer,
I'm there.
watch a ball game, and we're going to get our tickets on Game Time. So thank you so much, Game Time, for being a sponsor. Truly is the best ticketing app out there. Guys, any other sidebar conversations you want to have before we get back to Radio Land, the land of the radio waves? Woo.
What can I add?
I want to see everyone on Tuesday.
I will not be there.
He'll be out of town.
I know.
What's Tuesday?
Kenner. Do you just tune out when Reed's on the mic?
I was responding to.
It's
email.
okay. It's
Well,
listen,
well,
He
here's
thinks
what
I
it- well,
hate
here's
him.
what it is.
He
Here's
thinks I hate him, and that didn't help. I'm so sorry. I was responding to an email to a client, and I'm so sorry.
Justin, it wasn't like I talked about it. I said it for like 15 minutes.
As soon as
I was
said that, I'm like,
talking
oh,
about
shit.
it. I gave a whole lecture on it. There's
talked-
going to be a quiz
about
and a
it
test,
before
and you didn't
show.
hear anything.
We talked about it the past 2 days as well.
That was a really long email. I'm sorry. Yes,
It
this
looked
guy already
like,
thinks I
you were
dislike.
searching on Twitter, if I'm going to be honest, though.
What's that?
It looked like you were on Twitter there.
No, my laptop. I'm on my email. Which I don't
You
know
know
why I
what?
have my.
Was it an important email?
I uninvite Kenner. Kenner's not allowed to come in.
I don't even know where I'm uninvited to.
I guess that's true.
Dayton,
I do
another
like
da- it's, we were going to a Dayton Dragons game.
I do like
Sold
the
out.
I do like the Pawnee water. I heard that.
That was first.
I know. I'm sorry. I apologize.
What was the second ad?
The
I don't
leg is
think that.
bouncing.
I don't think that
was genuine
apology
at all.
was. I don't think that was. He was giggling as he said it. He was. You know what? 18 seconds. We're gonna go back to the show. I don't even want to do it. I don't want to.
We're going to be live streaming today. Is that correct?
Yes, we're going to be live streaming. Give us likes, guys. Wrong camera.
Oh,
we're going to be
oh,
live streaming the game. They play the first of 2 doubleheaders. These guys will be live streaming.
That's right.
I
Yes.
won't be here, but yeah, for the members, we will be doing live streaming.
And
I know
if
they
you're
like
not
to-
a member,
Yeah.
it's only $10, and you will make it back.
yeah, you'll make it back
You'll
on
make
the
it back
first
and
Will
more.
Benson at bat.
We-
They micro bet the entire
We
game.
live bet every single at bat.
I lose hundreds.
I'm 1 for 5 on making money, and the 4 losses are triple digits. So
That one day was good. The first time I think I did it
we made
I made a lot of money.
That's when we parlayed the ties and rooted against the Reds.
We're going to do it again today.
We're 100%.
We'll do it again today.
No question about it.
I think I'm the only one.
What are we
that
doing
doesn't
today?
make money.
But yeah, so we will be doing that, live streaming that after this. I think the game starts at 12:20. And yeah, if for those that do want to go to the game next week, just get in the Discord. If you're not already in the Discord, I'll probably put the link at some point in here, and we'll talk about it in there about where we're gonna sit and stuff like that. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. We're gonna have fun. It'll be great. Everyone will have a great time.
Will anyone do 999 with me?
I'll try.
Anyone in here?
No.
What is 999?
Come on, Reed. Come on.
Here's my thing. Like,
9 hot dogs, 9 beers, 9 innings.
I'll try it. I know I'm not going to finish it, but I'll try it.
Are we doing the whole thing where you how do you do it? Do you just have to drink 9 beers and 9
We don't
hot
have to
You
do
just
the
go.
inning.
I think you just
because
go.
I mean, like 9 beers
would
and 9 hot
rather
dogs.
I would
is
rather do it
nothing.
legit.
That's a nothing burger.
I would rather do it legit.
But yeah, I'd like it. I mean,
You got to go get 3 beers in the 7th inning.
I can do 9 beers and 9 hot
You guys
dogs.
need a
That's
runner.
no problem.
You guys need a run.
if we really want to test it, if we want to do this on hard mode, we've
Okay.
got to do the innings.
I'm with it.
1 beer, 1 hot
I'm in
dog
there.
per inning.
I'm
Have you
with-
done
I'm
it
there.
before?
At home,
Yeah.
by myself.
Doing it at home is so much fun.
I've done it. I've done it one time, but it was like they were smaller hot dogs, so it wasn't as hard.
I've got I don't like. I can't eat grilled hot dogs as easily as I can eat
That's
like.
crazy to me.
I like grilled hot dogs, but I can't eat them. It's something about the char. Like I can't just scarf them down. So I like when I do the 999 at home. I either boil them or I like put them in the microwave. or
boiled
something
hot
like that.
dog guy.
I
don't
know if you know
boiled
this about me,
hot-
Kenner.
I like
Ken
the
Doggy.
boiled steamed hot dog. I'm fine with that.
I could eat 12 cheese conies.
Game day says it's the 9999 because he pees 9 times.
Cheese conies are boiled. Skyline.
They are.
Yes,
yeah,
they are.
They boil those hot dogs. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you know this about me, Kenner. I eat bologna at an alarming rate.
Bologna's
In a
not
hot
bad.
dog. I eat.
Bologna's not bad. People make fun of bologna. but
Bologna
I'm-
Sammys are so
Bologna,
good.
dude.
I go through a tub of bologna twice a week.
My wife hates it. She hates that I eat bologna.
My wife, yeah, I don't need it. All right, let's go back to the show. And the stinger.
So seriously, what are we doing Tuesday? I totally missed it. I
So
apologize.
for those on the radio
yeah,
who didn't
I-
get that last segment,
Yeah.
Kinner,
He's mean and hates everyone in this room.
yeah, he ignored our entire segment that we did off air, off radio air. Was just for our YouTube. He ignored the entire thing. Detailed a fun event for our entire office.
For our
to go-
listeners, which the four of us love very much.
very much. It was everybody could go down. We could all have a good time. And Kinner was like, "What are we talking
Go down
about?"
where? Go down where?
It was pretty. Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
The sports yard.
And that's it. That's
That's
what
it?
we're doing.
Host this show, Kenner.
Yeah,
I'm tired of you. I'm tired of you being a bad friend, so be a good host.
yeah.
0 for 2. All right. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Flip that
Chatterbox
bottle.
Sports.
Flip that water bottle. See if you can land it.
Oh.
Here we
You
go.
land this first try.
This is a great. This is a great
On
bit
the-
for the radio.
this
You
is-
can
this
just
is what people
imagine,
want on
Just
radio.
imagine Kinner flipping this bottle.
First try, radio listeners.
Whoa!
That was pretty cool. I wish more people cheered for me even when I screw up. There you go. All right. We love soccer, right? Everyone in here loves soccer.
Jimmy does.
Jimmy.
It's the
I like soccer.
best.
This is your chance to shine.
Reed watches all the games. If
My
they're on.
chance-
If they're on the TVs.
If they're on.
If they're on the TVs.
This is your chance to shine. I thought this story was interesting. I just came across this while you guys were talking, so you know I'm rude. But did you see
You weren't
sending
on your
an
email.
I was. The email, when the email was done, it doesn't matter. Bottom line. So, by the way, do you like the play-in tournament for the NBA?
I do. Yeah.
You do? Well, not a lot of people do. And imagine if you were criticizing that, if a player came out and the NBA tried to fine the player for criticizing the cup. Wouldn't that be kind of weird? Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
kind of strange? That's what Major League Soccer is doing right now. Apparently, the league, any player that comes out and criticizes the cup is getting fined a significant amount of money. And now people are mad at the league and saying that that's really kind of strange. But yeah, so I get why the league for other sports does the can't criticize officials because, again, you're not. I mean, we know how fans get. You don't need to rile the fans up and get them just to bombard the officiating, and that's why they have that in place. But I did find it very weird that players are being fined up to $25,000 if they criticize the league's cup. And I found that interesting.
Now I don't know what MLS players make, but
That
if I
sounds
had
like a
to
lot.
guess, 25K is probably a pretty big chunk. When you hear 25K for an NFL superstar, you don't really bat an eye. But I feel like maybe I'm speaking out of line. But anyone other than Messi, that's probably a big hit to the pocketbook.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's weird to restrict. I'm gonna think my words here. Restrict negativity towards like a referee or stuff like that because they're doing a job, right? They're doing a job as
So
well.
you don't like the fact that they fine players and coaches for criticizing officials?
Correct.
Okay.
I think
That's interesting.
I think you should be able to criticize somebody who did not do their job well. I think it happens in Major League Baseball a lot, and I think you're more than allowed to do that. I think that's part of the job. I think there's a point where it becomes disrespectful. At the end of the day, like if you're making wrong calls out there, why can't I go out there and say you did a bad job? Like it happens in college basketball a lot too. They'll make objectively bad calls. Everybody knows that because we have the benefit of replay. And someone will say after the game, that's not a foul, yada yada, that's not a charge, yada yada yada, and there's a fine. You'll get in trouble for it. I think that whole thing is silly. If you're a referee or a official, bless you,
Thank you.
do your job well, or at least try, or come out and maybe admit your mistakes, because I think that happens too. A referee will have a bad game and they won't say, I messed up today. I didn't have my best day. And then nobody's allowed to criticize you for it. I think that's strange to me. NBA, it happens a ton. I'm against it. I think if you're an official, be held accountable. There is a line to be crossed. I'm not saying go out and berate officials anytime they miss one single call. But if you have a bad day, you're allowed to talk about it.
I guess I would be fine if you were allowed to criticize the officiating,
I think
too.
officials should have media availability like players
And the post game.
agree.
I do believe
100%.
officials should always go up
grown
and sit.
adults. You're putting 18-year-olds on the podium asking them questions
Yep.
about plays they messed up or anything.
But the grown adults who are trained for
and
officiating,
they can't answer questions.
Yeah, I do think they should be made available in post games. I guess my point about I understand why the leagues protect the officiating, because ultimately they're protecting themselves. If the officials talk and they say something that puts them in a bad light, that fuels the fire of, see, the league is out to get this team. Like, you know what I mean? It's that time. I understand why they do it, but I agree with Elliot at the same time that they should be made available to, like you said, be made available in a post-game media scrum, but also not be fining players and coaches who criticize it. But Jimmy, why is Major League Soccer fining players? Dang fly! Why are they fining players for criticizing the cup?
Not really sure.
Thanks,
It
Jim.
was your chance.
That's Mr. Soccer over there.
And that's,
was your
and that's
chance.
the issue with our
Thank you.
and that's the issue with our two soccer experts.
They don't really watch soccer.
Jimmy,
Yes.
You had 5 minutes to look it up.
I was trying to look it up.
what was that? What? He teased you up. I mean, he didn't just he teed it up for you.
Gosh.
He laid it out, said he's gonna come to you. He put it all out there,
We talked about officials for 5 minutes.
and
know.
you say, "I don't know."
I don't really know. I'm going to be honest.
I like the honesty.
We like honesty.
To be fair,
We like
this wasn't in the
transparency.
rundown. I just happened to come across it, and it caught and piqued my interest, and I set Jimmy up for failure, and that was not my intention. But Jimmy, I thought that you would know that. And it's fine that you don't know, because we don't know either.
Yeah.
We
as
miss
far as
Casey
that's
because he
concerned.
would certainly not know as well.
But no,
I
you're
think
fine.
there have been issues too, not in American soccer, mind you, overseas, where their soccer gets so heated. I'm pretty sure referees have been
Murdered.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
No. I think he's
That's
right on
100%
that.
a fact.
Really?
In some South American leagues.
Jimmy,
smaller
can you
South
look that
American
up?
leagues and stuff.
Just a referee that has been attacked overseas after a bad soccer game. I'm
I think it was
almost
Colombia.
Colombia might have done. I don't know.
Maybe that was the
Well, I don't want to
player
throw
that
out
got killed.
countries if they didn't do it.
Turkish.
It was Turkey. What happened?
No, there was one in South America.
This says Turkish referee attack leaves crisis that goes beyond football.
So I think there are instances where it goes way too far. You can't physically assault a referee, but I do think that if they have a bad game, if they're not making the correct calls, if they're not doing their job, they have to be held accountable, and they can do that. I think what was it, Pulisic in the match against who'd they lose to, Jim? Who'd Pulisic lose to?
Panama?
They lost to Panama, and he went over to the referee and was just kind of making a mockery of it.
Uruguay. That was the Uruguay.
Uruguay. Thank
Yeah.
you, Jim. You're awake. So he went over to the referee and was like, "Go celebrate with them. Go celebrate with them." Like that's when you can be fined. Like if you're making an open mockery of everything, of the referee profession, that's when you can get fined, in my opinion. But if it's a post game presser and the ref had a bad call, they had a bad night, I'm out there saying, we tried our best. The refs also tried their best. Didn't work for them. We're at the benefit. We're playing the other team, and we're playing the referees at the same time. I think you're allowed to say that with no repercussion.
So one comment, and Jimmy, just to be clear,
Yes.
I did set you up for failure there. My apologies on that.
No, it's
That's
okay.
fine. Like technically, this story did just come out about an hour ago, so it's not like anyone.
Okay, that takes a little bit of the heat off Jimmy's back.
Does it
So
though?
it does.
on.
It does.
There's always heat
They
on
came
my
out
back.
I
while
should
we
have
were
checked
on
with
air.
you first to see if you had anything
came
on
out
it
while we
before I
were
lobbed
doing
it
the
to
show.
you.
He should know. He's a soccer fan.
He is a soccer guy.
Anyways,
Kenner
but
got a Venmo. That's why he's taking it back.
Yeah.
God.
I like building this
I was
one up.
mean to Jimmy yesterday after the show, and I still feel very guilty about that. So I'm making sure him and I are good. So
Kenner said
yeah.
something after the show that I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive him for saying.
Well then, You know what? I lied. What the hell? How come you don't know anything about that? No. So what was it? So I think Roger said in the chat something about bringing up the Orioles. Remember when they suspended their play-by-play guy? Was it last year? I think it was just last year.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't something positive and this, that, and the other. But no, I just like an entire league though. I get why certain teams get protective of their product. I also hate that, by the way, because they definitely dangle access over the heads of media, and it's like, hey, if you say anything poorly about us, we're not going to give you access, and we know that you need access to do your job, as far as that's concerned. So, but that's like usually with the team-by-team basis, and I guess same thing with the league. I mean, that's what you talked about Adam Schefter earlier, as far as that's concerned. But for an entire sport like Major League Soccer to come out and threaten any player or coach or any MLS personnel that criticizes the cup, I mean, we do this all the time. Imagine if college football did that. Now it's a little different, but you know what I'm saying. Like, man, everyone had an opinion about the 14 playoff. Everyone had an opinion about the 12-team playoff. Everyone has an opinion about everything when it comes to college athletics. The NCAA tournament, there's talks of expanding it. Imagine if any coach that comes out and criticizes the idea of expanding it, the NCAA says, hey, you're going to be fined as far as that's concerned. I just found that to be pretty wild as far as that goes. All right, another story that popped up that caught my attention. Again, you have Florida State coming up this season is going to be taking on SMU. SMU's coach is Rhett Lashley. And you saw this?
Yeah.
He wants to, instead of doing a coin flip to determine, who gets possession at first, he wants to play Mike Norvell in College Football 25 to determine their kickoff. How about that? That would be, that would be a way more entertaining way than just having people flip a coin. I know you Bengals fans have PTSD when it comes to coin flips, so I'm sure you love this idea.
Well, that was good that worked out well for us.
Not as bad as Bills fans.
See? But yes, coaches playing College Football 25 to determine a kickoff. It's not actually happening, but I thought it was interesting.
That'd be fun. I think it's cool how many of the media personalities, coaches, players, everything are playing this game and getting into it and talking about it. I think it's interesting.
It's good. It's good for college football objectively
Yeah.
when something like this happens. So, yeah.
By the way, does anyone hate this video game?
With
All the hype that it has got, I haven't come across anyone that has anything negative to say
Now
about it.
I'll say this: it's
Scott
very
Van
fun.
Pelt.
It's a bad game. Like it's bad.
Oh, it's not.
It needs patches really bad.
Yeah.
It's not a good game. It's saved by the love for college football and the atmospheres and the stadium noise and all the differences that it has from Madden, because people playing Madden have been playing the same game for the last decade. But this first patch coming out this weekend is like 80 gigabytes or something.
Yeah.
So it should
it's like
fix
8 gigabytes, but.
Oh, 8.
Yeah.
What is it, 80 megabytes or something like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fixing all the
Still.
team builder stuff and all the other graphics issues in the game. So hopefully after a patch or two, it should be much better. But it tells you how much people love college football, that
Right.
they love the game anyway with this many flaws.
At the end of the day, people just don't care because they haven't had the game in 10 years.
Right.
So they're going to play it no matter what.
That's interesting because on Metacritic, it has an 88 from critics, 88 out of 100, and but the users give it a 6.6 out of 10. I think that's interesting.
Huh.
So like the critics think it's better than the people who are actually playing it, like the general fan.
I think a lot of the issues aren't with gameplay. It's with user like when you move teams in Dynasty to the Pac-2 and expand the conference, you can't edit conference settings anymore. You can only play 2 conference games, and that's a big issue because obviously a lot of people in Dynasties want to rebuild the Pac-12, so you can't do that. With Team Builder, crowd colors are lighter than the team colors when you build it, so if you make a black team, the crowd's wearing gray. If you make a red team, the crowd's wearing pink. Little things like that don't necessarily affect the gameplay, but just the cosmetic to the game that users really want.
Which we'll get.
You recovered very well there, by the way.
Yeah, I know. If I'm playing with my buddy though, like if I bring him over and we're like, let's play just a game. I'll be Alabama, you be UC, and then we just sit down and play. There will be no issues with that.
No, it's the play now setup and everything like that is very, very good. A lot of the complaints about the game are people that are saying, well, why is the tackling so bad? Well, I would just say watch college football.
Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
people want the tackling to be as easy as Madden, and that's just not how college football is played.
Shootouts like every game.
One of my favorite bits is like, when will this happen in college football? And it's a play of like a guy escaping like 7 tackles, going all the way, and then
15 quote tweets.
15 quote tweets of the exact play happening in real life. It's very, very funny. I didn't know this was only on the new consoles.
Yeah.
That's tough. Didn't know that.
But
Really?
you have to phase out of those consoles eventually.
PS4 is a great console.
Xbox is never making another console again, apparently.
PS5's been out for 3 years.
PS5's been out for 3 years.
I was gonna say these consoles have been out for 4
Yeah.
years. Like,
Yeah.
I
3,
can't
4
use a
years.
PS4.
Well, thank
Yeah,
God you
eventually.
can't, 'cause it
Listen,
would be
like this is
terrible for
about
this game.
the time that they phased out the PS2. The PS2 got phased out in 2010. The PS3 came out in 2006. So about 4 years. So that's about the general run. And then it was about the same thing. PS3, when the PS4 come out, 2014.
Yep.
And by about 2018, the PS3 was phased out. That's just what happens.
When you make games for the old gen consoles and the new gen consoles, you can't put in all the stuff that you can put into a game that's just made for the new gen, which is why they made it.
I see.
It's
just
also
for 5
like
and 1.
the new consoles aren't like super hard to get anymore. Like I guess they are kind of right now.
You can get an Xbox
but-
for like under $250.
Yeah.
Right around
The
$200.
Xbox Series S is like $250 to $300 now, and I think like eventually you just need to phase out of the Xbox One and the PS4 because
I played a whole work week last week. 41 hours
That's
of
a
that
lot.
game.
That's incredible. Can it be played on the Wii?
No. It can't be played on PC yet either, which hopefully is
Oh.
coming soon.
it probably will.
I hope the Wii comes before that.
No, that's good. I mean, not good to hear, but interesting. Like I said, but everyone, and usually social media, that's where everyone goes to complain. I have not come across any negativity about the game whatsoever. And I'm like, but there has to be something wrong with it, right? And I think they can get away with it with this game because it's the aura of the game that came
Exactly.
back. So they can miss some details if they want to, obviously pay attention to the aesthetics more. But I think the gameplay, features could improve probably when the next game comes out. But they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt as each game comes out. And this will be a yearly thing. Right?
Personally, I hope it's not. They
I hope
said
it's
they're
not,
already
too.
working on 26, but I really hope they don't release a new game every year. I think it should probably be every 2 or 3 years. I mean, when they get new recruiting classes,
Especially when you get-
they can
you
just
could
do
just
live
update it.
roster updates within the game, and you spend some serious time making improvements instead of just copying the game and updating the rosters like Madden does.
Right.
Well, it's
yeah.
like
But they've already reached out to Reese Davis to start recording for College Football 26. So
It's the Apple model. We're
Yep.
just going to tweak some of the apps a little bit to make you pay significantly more, but they come out with the big change every couple
But
years.
then at that point, do you even buy the new one?
I probably always will.
Yeah, you probably. Yeah.
I say I'm not going to buy
think-
Madden every year, and I do.
I've seen people complain that the game's hard, and I think that I've heard that
It is.
the reason I think people think it's hard is because they played the old one, so they're just going to put it on Heisman difficulty and think that it should be easy. But at the same time, it's the hardest difficulty in the game. Yeah, it's probably going to be hard, and the game just came out, so you probably just stink at it. Like you can change the difficulty to make it easier.
That's such a big shot to the ego.
That's true.
All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We'll close out the radio portion of the show. When we come back, we'll go back to the Cincinnati Bengals for a quick conversation because yesterday it was kind of released mid-afternoon, but an update on Trent Brown and what this means for one of the Bengals' big draft picks this coming up season. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We'll get to this Paul Feinbaum, Ryan Day thing, probably push that to tomorrow's show. We'll get more into that tomorrow, of course.
Oh, we're not going to talk about Crybaby
Crybaby
Ryan
Day.
Day.
But the good thing for you is you get to use the same thumbnail, or at least the same criticism, back-to-back days.
He'll get more creative.
He
I
can
have
research more about it tonight. And
Did you see, by the way, I tweeted this out yesterday. So Jim Harbaugh voiced over the Chargers, like welcome to camp, training camp video, whatever. And he did take a shot at Ryan Day in there. And I wanted to be annoyed, but I really respect the pettiness that he's even out of college and he's still just throwing the middle finger back to
Yeah.
Ryan Day. It was the born on third, no one here was born on third base. You have to work your way to first and work your way to third. And
Where was
work your
Sharon
way
Moore
home.
born?
Like,
Home?
it's like, but I do think, for as much as I hated him in college, I'm like a big Harbaugh fan in the NFL.
I
Like,
love Harbaugh. I think he's going to be a great
you know,
coach.
Justin Herbert drives me nuts, but I am pulling for Harbaugh to a certain extent as far as that goes. But so yesterday, again, it's been so much good news for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't know if this is necessarily bad news. I mean, when you talk about the offensive line, that needs to be as buttoned up as possible, especially when it comes to protecting your number one asset, which is Joe Burrow. But it was Trent Brown starts camp on the active non-football injury list heading in. I was surprised that it wasn't like a panic situation. In fact, what ended up happening was social media seemed to jump into the positive, which is now that Trent Brown is not going to be readily available to start camp, and I don't know how long he could potentially be out. The positive about this is now you have an opportunity to give Amari Mims, who just signed his rookie contract. I know took a little time to get that done, but now that he's signed and he's ready to go, and everyone, people like me who call him a project, this, that, and the other, well, if he is a project, the more reps, the better. So a situation that may not be the most ideal with Trent Brown starting out on the active non-football injury list, I think could be spun into a positive, because now Mims, who everyone is hoping really pans out, he's going to get all the first-team reps right off the bat. This could be a huge opportunity for the Bengals, a huge opportunity for Mims. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a situation where the absence of Trent Brown becomes the story and the story becomes Mims all of a sudden shining in camp early. I know that's something that you're really excited about.
Yeah, no, I love that Mims is going to be out there getting first-team reps all through camp. I certainly hope Trent Brown is back by the season. I mean, obviously it's ideal to have 3 starting caliber offensive tackles that you can rotate through, and I think Mims is going to be that. So I'm not really freaking out about Trent Brown not being active right now. I think Mims will be a perfectly fine fit over at right tackle and right next to Orlando Brown. I do think in an ideal world, Mims is our third tackle, and you're playing Trent Brown and you're playing Orlando Brown because you did pay Trent Brown on a 1-year deal, and you don't have him for the future. So if he's not playing this year, then it's a completely wasted contract. I understand that you took Mims in the first round and you want to play him, and if he's great, by all means, play him. If he's the best tackle, play him. But I have a hard time believing that he's going to be better than Trent Brown right off the rip if Trent Brown is healthy.
Yeah, I agree with everything Jacob just said. Mims should not be the go-to starter ahead of Trent Brown. I think Trent Brown, as of right now, if he's able to come back and play, then he's the guy. That's who I would want. Amarius Mims is not ready yet.
Mims obviously has a chance to prove that he is ready.
Sure. I don't want Amarius Mims starting game 1.
Then yes. Let me be very clear and say that I don't expect Amari Mims to start game 1. If he does start game 1, my expectations for Amari Mims jump through the roof.
Yep.
Because I don't think when they drafted him they expected him to start game 1. That's why you signed Trent Brown. You know that Amarius Mims has not had a whole lot of reps, a whole lot of snaps, in-game snaps. You can say whatever you want about facing in Georgia, practice, all that stuff. That's fine. It's all well and good. But he simply hasn't played a whole lot on the field. So you don't anticipate him to start day 1 in the National Football League. And if he does, if he earns that spot to be the starting right tackle day 1, then my expectations for Amarius Mims are through the roof. And they're no longer that I just want him to be a serviceable, okay tackle. I want him to be the guy, the cornerstone of the right side or of this line, period, for years to come. And I hope that happens. I hope that I get to have those expectations from Amarius Mims. I hope that game 1, I feel so confident in our first-round pick this year that I think we've got a cornerstone guy for years to come, just like we have a cornerstone quarterback, just like we have a cornerstone wide receiver in Jamar Chase.
So should this be a concern then, if that is the case, that he's not available right now? Just because the history of Trent Brown being readily available, always up, that's always questionable at times. I don't think it's a good thing that he's off early, but I think, again, camp is so long. We have more than a month to go before we really get to the season, the part of the season that counts the most. But, look, you want all your guys to show up to camp. You want everyone readily available right off the bat, so I don't think that this is a good thing. But at the same time, do we know why? Do we know what's going on? I mean, it's good that it's a non-injury.
It's a non-football injury.
Non-football injury.
So it's an injury of some kind, but not PUP list, so he can come back at any time whenever he wants, whenever he's ready. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing as long as he's back relatively soon, because the more reps Mims can get with the first unit, the better it is for him. I mean, he's obviously not drafted to be a second-team lineman, even though that's probably what he's going to be this year in an ideal world. So getting him reps with the first team, that'll be great for his production and his development and all, but you want Trent Brown back.
All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. It was announced yesterday. We talked about the Bengals contracts and all that fun stuff heading in. I know that, you guys big Browns fans and all, but they get the deal done with Amari Cooper. They end up restructuring. It wasn't even a restructure. They just reworked it. I mean, they fully guaranteed the $20 million for this upcoming season and gave him a raise up to $25 million with $5 million in incentives. Very big deals. The first wide receiver to have back-to-back 1,000-yard-plus seasons since returning to Cleveland. We know how important. I know how important. You guys don't care. I know how important Amari Cooper is to the Cleveland Browns. I was in the middle. It was one of those things where had the Browns moved on from Amari Cooper, I would have understood why. You talked about the Bengals earlier with the contracts of, you're going to get the contract the first time, but that second time giving them to aging veterans. You don't really want to go down that route if you don't have to. I felt like the Browns almost had to get a deal done with Amari Cooper, but I'm glad that they didn't cave and desperately give him a long-term contract because I think that this is honestly the situation that makes the most sense really for both sides. He's going to get that $20 million guaranteed, make up to $25 million with incentives. He's going to hit free agency. He's going to go to a team that probably has a quarterback on a rookie deal that they could afford to give him the contract that he's worth. And then the Cleveland Browns will be in position to use the money that they were willing to spend on a wide receiver to go get a younger receiver. And I still think that is going to be T. Higgins when it's all said and done. It'll be interesting to see if that ends up being how it all plays out. But yeah, I have no problem with what the Browns did, and I'm glad that Amari Cooper decided to rework that deal as well.
Yeah, I think it's good. Extending a receiver, 3, 4, 5 years when he's 30 years old and you already have a lot of money locked up in other places on your team, certainly not a smart move. So for the Browns to keep him is absolutely crucial. He had an absurd percentage, I forget off the top of my head, but an absurd percentage of the passing yards for Deshaun Watson's career with the Browns have been to Amari Cooper. So he absolutely needs him there for that offense to have some success. And getting the deal done in a 1-year setting, in a 1-year extension, is perfect for both the Browns and Amari Cooper. It's going to give him a chance to just go attack the free agent market next year.
Is Amari Cooper the second most important player on the Browns?
The second most? I would say yes. I would have normally said Nick Chubb. And I'm not saying you don't need Nick Chubb. But Nick Chubb went out and the Browns still remained. And this is no disrespect to Nick Chubb. But the Browns, you have to have that balance of the run-pass. So Nick Chubb going out, the Browns, they lost him in week 2. It's not like they lost him at the back end, so you had like a lot of games with him to kind of level it out. They were a top 10 rushing team in football last year, and he was out from week 2 on. So therefore, you could still get production out of that run game. You have one of the best offensive lines in football. Deshaun Watson has to be healthy. That is the most crucial, but you have to have a true number 1 wide receiver. That is Amari Cooper. So that makes him the second most important player to me because of if they didn't have him and you don't have a true number 1 wide receiver, even if Deshaun is healthy for the season, him not having a number 1 weapon in the passing game to balance out the pass and the run is very, very crucial. That's why I put him in that category as far as right now. It's hard to replace Amari Cooper. The Browns had to replace Nick Chubb's production last year. It's not like you totally replaced it, but you found a way to overcompensate for it, and then we're still a top 10 run team in football last year.
Did last year give you a revelation that maybe running backs don't matter?
Wait, are you on that camp?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're on the same page then. I don't
Let's
know where
go.
you thought it
Hey,
was.
look
We're
at
on the
that.
same
Look
page.
at that. Let's clap it up.
Browns fans got furious at me. I'm like, I love Nick Chubb. I would hate to see him go, but when there was talks about giving him an extension this year, I'm really glad that it was just the Joe Mixon treatment where we're going to restructure your deal and you're going to come back on a cheaper deal. But I would not have been happy had the Browns extended Nick Chubb because gotta love him, but you got to make tough big boy decisions. You invested a lot of money in your quarterback. You have to invest into the pass game. That's why I put Amari Cooper where I did.
No, I do think that the NFL agrees that with the kind of the running backs don't matter. That's why they get paid so much less than everyone else, and their careers are so much shorter.
Running game. I saw someone put this in there. Running game matters. No doubt about that. That's you can't deny that. It's just that the NFL has figured out that for the most part, it doesn't matter who you plug back there. You're going to get pretty similar results.
Yeah, and a lot of that I think has to do with your offensive line. That's why they invest so much more in the offensive line. Then you can put, you can kind of put anyone back there if you have a good offensive line, you'll have a good run game.
Yep, that's why you look around the league. There is not a highly paid running back paired with a elite paid quarterback. There's a reason that Derrick Henry was a star running back with the Tennessee Titans, who don't have an elite quarterback. There's a reason that at the time Zeke was paid as well as he was because, again, you didn't have an elite paid quarterback at that time. There's a reason that Nick Chubb was in Cleveland for as long as he was initially because you had Baker Mayfield on a rookie deal, and then the early portion of Deshaun's contract hadn't really kicked in yet. I love Nick Chubb, but I don't think you should There's two different trains of thought. You prioritize the run game, but I don't think you financially prioritize the run game as far as that's concerned. So there we go. And that's it for the radio, at least. Well, ladies and gentlemen who are listening on 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton, give everyone, let's hear your voice one more time. It's going to be a while before they hear
James
it again.
Madison? Which
Yeah,
one are you
that one too.
What was the president that you did read? Garfield? Who was the one that? Remember when we did the bit, the president bit? Who was the president that you were?
Chester MacArthur?
No, that wasn't it. I'll do mine. I'm James Madison. Woohoo! Bye bye, everybody.
Where's James going on vacation?
James is going to Hilton Head, South Carolina.
I just knew the Carolina would be good.
Are you getting the bumper sticker?
Yeah, I might.
It's like running a marathon. You didn't go to Hilton Head unless you get the bumper
Can you get
sticker.
two? One for your car and one for the bug?
I'll get two. One for my car, one for your truck.
A lot of Bama stickers on there. You have to find some room.
Yeah, I know.
When you come back.
When am I coming back?
Yeah.
It'll be
Are you coming
probably it'll be Sunday morning or Saturday night.
His next show will be the Monday following the week after this coming Monday.
Yeah. So if Casey's back from his third vacation by then we can all go. That was a shot. I didn't mean it. I texted Casey that joke yesterday. Casey okayed that joke.
I FaceTimed Casey yesterday to make sure I didn't unplug things in here I shouldn't unplug, and he looked like he was dead.
Yeah.
So really hope he's feeling better.
Not dead, especially.
Yeah, and not
especially. No, that wraps it up on the radio side of things. Elliot, we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you. This has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers on 1410 ESPN Radio. We're back. Are you very happy that you will not have to talk trade deadline? I'm running. I didn't
even think about. I didn't even think about that.
You won't have to talk trade deadline.
Yeah, but if something big happens, I'm going to be sad I'm not
here. Are you saying there's a chance something big could happen?
I think they could sell off Jonathan India. Is the biggest thing that could happen.
Well, you would have to call in.
I would call in for that. I would call in from the beach for that because I am somewhat concerned that's going to happen. I don't think it should happen. I don't think it should even be remotely.
I'd bring in streamers and balloons and set up the studio like a party.
I think it should happen too.
Yeah.
It'd be so
should it
smart.
happen
Matt
now?
McClain hasn't played, and that's my only issue. If Matt McClain played this year, I would say sure, absolutely trade him away, trade him to Canada. I don't care where you trade him, just trade him. But if nobody's going to be healthy, I need Jonathan India to be on the team because he can play anywhere. I'm not saying he's great at it, but he's improved defensively this year. He's been arguably the best offensive player outside of Elly De La Cruz this season. So yeah, I'm gonna say that don't trade Jonathan India. Please, 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 please don't.
Where does he bring you? Is he more valuable now, or winter? Like when we get to the offseason after winter meetings?
Oh, his value will never be higher than it is right now.
Right now.
You have the least amount of buyers you could possibly have. And
to drive the price
or
up.
the least amount of sellers, the least amount of sellers you could possibly have. A ton of people who want to buy and get into the playoffs.
Yep.
He's playing out of his mind. And if the Reds are ever going to be competitive, he's not going to be the second baseman. So
he's the perfect trade option too. He's a very good offensive utility player.
And my thing is, if McClain's not healthy and he can't play, we're screwed anyway. So why do we need Jonathan India?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because if Jonathan India plays like this again next year, and I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying if he does, then you have a serviceable replacement for Matt McClain.
Yeah, this version of Jonathan India, I think, is a massive outlier.
Sure, we can say that, we can think it, but he could come back.
Reed said that earlier too when we were kind of talking about trading for guys and trading away guys. Jonathan India is playing well right now, so it'd be smarter to move him right now while he's playing well rather than in the offseason when he played well last season. So
Yeah, that does work against him, right? Like he finally starts playing his best baseball as a Red, and it's almost working against him
Yeah.
because he wants to stay in Cincinnati. So like that's like the double-edged sword for him. He's playing his best baseball. Like, see, I could do this, and they're like, we can see. Get the hell out of here. Like it's kind of like I hate it. I don't want him to go, but I mean, look, we had Mark Sheldon on last week. I mean, there's not anyone out there that has said he is a part of the long-term future.
No.
And you're right. As far like if he was playing very average right now, I don't see him being moved, but. You're right.
Right,
But the way he's
yeah.
playing,
He's the only one that I would be. For all the reasons that everybody said, I wouldn't be upset if you trade Jonathan India. It would just make me sad. It would make me sad to trade him right now, obviously, because it's like last year we talked about trading Jonathan India at his highest value when at some point during last season. He never really got to that highest value. He's there right now. He is just bait waiting to be taken by a shark somewhere out there. And I'm concerned it's going to happen. I think that would be the biggest possible move that would happen at this trade deadline. I don't think they're going to buy anybody big. In fact, I would bet a lot of money they don't. And then outside of that, if Lucas Sims goes, I don't really care. If Fernando Cruz goes, I really don't care. And then if you look around outside of that, then it's just a whole lot of nothing. You're not trading any of the core, so it's just a wash. And we've said it. I've been saying it for a while now. What are you fighting for this season? What are you fighting for? Because if you're fighting for a deep playoff run, and if you believe that, sure, go ahead. But I have a hard time believing you've looked at this team compete this season and say, you know what, they're good enough. And I know what they've done. They'll probably take a game against the Braves today and win the series. They'll probably win another big series down the stretch. But at the end of the day, do you trust them to be consistent enough to make a postseason run? And the answer has to be no. I've seen too much.
But baseball's such a weird sport that this would be the stupid year that all of a sudden something clicks and they just win a playoff series or something wild, right? Like
100%.
But again, to even
back end,
have that
kinda.
silly conversation this next week, we have to get through this next week and figure out what they're going to tell us that they're going to do.
And they're really not that far. Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo, again, God help us if they get hurt. But they've been relatively healthy, and if they're able to continue that, and Andrew Abbott,
like
I don't
he's
even mention
kind of
Andrew
2A,
Abbott.
2B type of guy. Like,
If you have those three, you have a damn good chance to compete in the playoffs if the offense is there. The offense just isn't there consistently enough. If it's a left-handed pitcher, you don't have a chance. The Reds don't have a chance in hell. Noelvi Marte hasn't been good. He's been objectively terrible.
He's been pretty good for the last 15 games.
Sure. He's been terrible since he's been called up. Terrible.
I think it's ridiculous that you're not going to look at a guy who's played less than 40 games in spurts. He came up and he was bad. He's been very good for the last couple games, last 15 or
What's
so games.
really good?
He's hitting like 280.
What's his OBP?
Pull it up.
The thing with Noelvi Marte is he was very good last year, so his career numbers are still good.
Right.
Like he's
it's
260
weighted.
career hitter, which is good on this team.
In his last 7 games, he's hitting 220 with a 285 OBP and a 350 slug. That's much better.
That's much better.
That's terrible.
In what world is that terrible for a 22-year-old?
Did you say 280 OBP?
Yeah.
You think that's
He
good?
was getting on it like a 115 clip when he came up.
Jacob.
You don't want to see improvement from a young player?
Jacob, I didn't say he didn't improve. I say he's been terrible.
He has not been.
A 280 OBP is terrible.
I push back at a 22-year-old being terrible.
Reed,
played
is
56
it a 280 OBP
56
good?
games, Elliot.
56 games.
Answering the questions that are asked my way, a 280 OBP is not good.
Right, and you can't
It's
just grade
objectively
players
terrible.
on numbers. You have to grade them on who they are and when they're playing.
What?
He's played 40-something games. He's 22. Improvement matters. He's been getting better every step of the way since he's been back up.
I always say, look, I'm 5'7", right? If I come in tomorrow,
5'8".
I'm 5. You know,
They're sitting down. They don't know.
I'm 5'7". If I come in tomorrow and I'm 5'8", all right, I'm taller than I was yesterday, but I'm not tall. So is he better than what he was? Yes, and you like to see that trajectory, especially in a young player. But is he good right now? To Elliot's point, no. But I see what.
But that's
the
all I care about is that he
trajectory,
keeps getting better.
as far as that's concerned. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he can't be good in the future. I'm saying he's been objectively terrible since he's been called up. I don't think this is a crazy take.
I think it's a bad take to say he's been terrible at all. He's young. I'm not saying anyone.
I can't say anybody
been
who.
terrible.
This is where you lose me. If I can't say a professional athlete is bad when he comes up because he's quote young, then I don't know what we're doing anymore. I really don't, because I just can't say anything then. You literally can't
If
say
this
anything
team
about
was
Noelvi
competing
Marte.
for a World Series, I would
I can't
agree.
say anything about anybody if I can't say a 280 OBP is objectively bad.
No,
I
I
think-
that
would
is
not,
trash.
I would not be talking bad about a
Here's-
22-year-old.
Here's my thing is, yes, he was bad when he came up this year. He was very good when he came up last
Right.
year, and now he's improving his numbers back towards
to-
where
He
was
couldn't have
last
gotten
year.
worse. He was playing he couldn't have played worse.
Why are you holding on to that?
the
and not
only
that
way-
he was great last year and getting better right now. Why are you holding on to a 20-game stretch where he was bad?
Because all I've said here today is that Noelvi Marte has been bad since he's been called up.
But why do we
That
want to
is-
focus on that?
What do you mean why? Because I need him to be good.
He was great last year, and he's trending back that way.
Okay.
He had 300 last year.
So what do you guys think about the first team that misses the playoffs getting the first playoff? That was awesome, man. I wasn't a part of it, and I love that. By the way, when you get in your jaw tightens up. When
Does
you-
it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I can always tell when you're about to go. I'm like, and we're off.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
but-
I think it's interesting talking about Noelvi Marte, and yeah, he's 22. He's only played 56 games. When the Tigers came to town and Colt Keith hit 2 homers, he was coming off a very terrible
Can't
start
help
to the
yourself,
year.
can you?
No, he was coming off.
This is a good
He was coming off a terrible
comparison.
start to the year. He's 22 years old, second baseman. People wanted to send him down because he wasn't ready. He was hitting below 200 for the first month and a half of the season. He hadn't really had a stretch where he got hot. He was fine at points, but he hadn't had a stretch where he got hot. In his last 15 games now, he's hitting 327 with a 431 on base percentage and 694 slug at 22 years old. So things will get better.
I'm not saying they won't get better. I'm saying he has been terrible. I don't know what the disconnect is.
Well, why do you want to focus on that?
What? What?
Why do you want to hold on to the bad instead of the fact that he's improving?
But you were
This
clamoring.
is crazy to me.
You were
It's
clamoring
just
for,
so pessimistic.
You were clamoring for him to come back.
Yeah.
Of course I was. We need better offensive players. Do I think Noelvi Marte is going to be this bad forever? No. Do I think he's going to be good? Yes. Has he been objectively trash for the first half of this whatever season he's playing here? Yes, he's been terrible. Terrible.
I just don't understand why you want to think
Because
like that. How is that enjoyable
because
as a fan?
oh my Jesus. It's a point to be made. Why are the Reds struggling? Why aren't they going in? Because we got guys like Noelvi Marte having a 280 OBP, and we got half the people in here saying, "Oh, that's pretty good. That's not bad."
It's getting
It's
better
getting better.
for a young player
This
who
is-
hasn't played 50 games.
This is where the positive Reds fans lose me altogether. Because all I've said is that he's been terrible. He can be good in the future, and I'm the one in the wrong. Wild.
When we,
Why?
when we
Why
talk
why wouldn't you search for the positives with these guys instead of focusing on the negatives? That's the question.
to defend
Because
that a
they
bit,
haven't had a winning season in 30 years.
He's
I'm trying to get to the
22.
playoffs.
22.
He hasn't even played half of a season.
But this conversation started with about a team making moves to help them now, and I get it turned into moves for the future. I mean, that's where the disconnect always is when it comes time to talking Reds is you have such a young team, so you do talk about where they're heading. But what I always get tired of is it's always the future, the future, the future. Sometimes I want to talk about now and what can this team do to win now. So that's where he's coming in. Elliott's coming into play as far as who he is now has been a little bit of a concern. And I don't think that's playing a role in what they want to do with Jonathan India. But big picture, again, if he's not suspended for half the season, let me ask you this. If he's not suspended half the season or half the first half of the season, however you want to word that, and he's played like this he's played poor since April, does that change the perception
If
of what
he's
to
hitting
do with Jonathan
210
India?
after 100 games, yes, it's a different conversation than after 50.
Fair enough. But that's why I'm also annoyed with Marte is because the selfish decision he made.
He didn't know how it got there. He ate a burger.
Got taken for his word. Elly, you know what? You need to calm the hell down. In fact, I think you need a week break.
I think so too.
Week and some change.
We'll see you guys
By the way,
later.
when you get mad, you sound like Seinfeld. Like that. Like you were going
Well,
up.
it's just like
you were hitting some Seinfeld.
I
pitches
really
there.
don't think I said anything wrong. I'm still confused by it, but it's fine. Noelvi Marte's been great. He's been a superstar this year.
Jake, hey,
Thank God he's
was
here.
that like the worst take you've ever heard, dude?
That one wasn't bad. I can
Damn
understand
it.
where he's coming from.
Damn it.
Yeah, I
I
hope
tried.
so. If you look at any statistic,
I just don't understand why you'd want to be there as a fan.
because the point of I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing it.
I've got a cherry on top.
Let's
I've got
go.
a cherry on top to round out this show.
Is it Noelvi
So-
Marte's OBP over the last 5 games?
It is not.
Is it up to 290?
It is not. It is not. I didn't listen to any of that.
Whoa! I thought that was frowned upon.
All right, guys.
happened to this? Time out. We're going to do this. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
I'll write it, and we'll do it live. We just lost it for whatever reason.
Kinner.
And let me get this back up.
Did you see the new Notre Dame uniforms for the Shamrock series? They just
They're
got
unbelievable.
Okay. Cherry on top, Casey, who is ill, is tweeting out once again that bandit Casey.
Oh, no.
That bandit Casey is out tweeting once again. So this is our UDF cherry on top. It is a tweet from a sick Casey, and we know how those get. They get a little weird. Casey says, when it comes to music, I'm okay. Don't need it. I'm okay with a beautiful breeze into some wind chimes. That's my music. Hashtag ding shing-a-ling bing shing. Thinking about it makes me smile. Hashtag Casey smiles blankly at wind chimes. Hashtag Barney had a green belly. Hashtag my belly is red from the beach. So a little bit of everything from Casey.
I like
Thinking
third-person
about Barney, Barney the purple dinosaur had a green belly.
Does, in fact.
And Casey likes wind chimes, doesn't like music.
Hope you feel better, Casey.
I think the hashtag was ding ching a ling bing ching.
Ooh.
So
Be careful.
be careful. Be careful from what?
No comment.
No
We got this
comment.
far.
Be
we
careful.
got this far.
Be careful. Be careful from what?
Be careful.
From making noises?
Yeah, Elliot, from making noises.
Let's get an answer here.
Look at my little cheeks. They're a little red.
Why would I need to be careful?
Any
I don't
thoughts
know.
on Deshaun Watson?
What was it?
Yeah, say it again and
Bang,
maybe.
bang ding a
The hashtag, I'll say it a billion
Some
times.
ting wong?
The hashtag was bing a ching-a-ling bing ching. Like a wind chime. Be careful, though.
Be careful.
Be careful.
I think it's just a good, safe message for all the kids out there.
That's right.
Things
All right.
getting weird.
And that's radio.
Bye-bye.
As we wrap this up, if I'm all of you, we still have a little bit of time. Go. I'm putting money on Marte to hit a home run now.
I am
That's
too.
usually
No
how
question
this.
about it.
That's usually how this works. If we lay in on a player,
And I love that we said it out loud, so now Elliot has to take it.
Well, let's see if his
I'm going to clip the part where I said he's going to be good in the future.
let's see if
I
his,
said he's been bad when he's hitting
Well, no, I'm just saying,
110.
so you have to take the home run bet.
Oh, I
let's
see.
see if his value's good on
We said it
ballpark
out
pal.
loud.
all right, everybody,
that's
enjoy
it.
the Reds
We gotta
game.
go.
What do you guys have coming up? Box
The Reds.
lunch?
Not
We're watching
very-
We're streaming the
Reds.
Reds game.
So you're streaming it.
Yep.
Streaming it live.
Streaming it live.
All right,
We'll do it
good
live.
stuff. I got to get back to my other.
Reds.
Job. Have a good day, everybody.